On November 16th, 1971, 10-year-old Carmen Colon disappeared from Churchville, New York, a little village just 50 miles west of downtown Rochester, essentially part of the suburbs. She was last seen climbing into a car of an unknown suspect sometime between 4:25, 5 p.m. outside of Jack's Drugs, a little pharmacy, after dropping off a prescription request for her stepsister. 5:30 p.m., a girl matching Carmen's description, seen naked from the waist down, witnessed attempting to run away from a car on the side of Interstate 490 West, near the Churchville exit. She's waving her arms frantically, screaming for help as cars barrel past during rush hour. A car is rapidly backing up to her, and then whoever was driving that car catches up to her and takes her away. Several motorists see all of this go down, and yet no one comes to her rescue. No one stops. And days before cell phones, no one calls the police. No one calls the police when they make it back home after seeing all of this happen. No one, not one single person, makes a single call about the girl they'd seen running half naked and afraid away from some stranger's car until 3 days later, after her photograph appears in the area's two newspapers, the Democrat and Chronicle and the Times-Union, when the two papers announced that Carmen's body had just been discovered after her brutal rape and murder. Even then, only a few individuals out of the hundreds of cars estimated to have seen this go down off of I-490 come forward to describe what they've seen. One said that while he thought it was odd that a young girl would be running half naked towards traffic on a busy highway, he was in the passing lane of heavy traffic when he saw her and thought for sure that someone behind him would stop to see if something was wrong. Another insisted he thought the car he saw backing up towards his child was just allowing her to go out and use the bathroom. Sure, because that's how kids use the bathroom. They just take all their clothes off. Some people thought it was perhaps just a family squabble. That it was none of their business. Again, yeah, right. Just a normal argument involving a half-naked child. Others said they were unsure of what they'd seen, either because it was too much of a blur in the drizzle as they sped past with their minds on other things, or because it was already pretty dark and the crescent moon yielded precious little light on an already surreal scene. So those individuals put the disturbing image out of their minds and just continued on with their lives. How morally convenient. Carmen would be the first victim in what would become known as the alphabet murders, a.k.a. the double initial murders, CCC. In this case, Carmen, Colon, Churchville. Two more murders of both initials matching the first letter of the town they were taken from would follow. And then a terrible suspect list would emerge, a list that would end up including not one but two convicted serial killers with ties to the area, a different known area serial rapist, a family member, and more. Also, an additional set of double initial murders would occur in California, including another victim, also named Carmen Colon. How strange is that? The second Carmen Colon's 22-year-old body would be found August 13th, 1978, near little Port Costa, California, just south of Vallejo, north of Oakland. And the man charged for this Carmen's murder and four others also had strong ties to Rochester. He was born there, grew up there, regularly traveled back to the area at the time of the murders. Coincidence? Did the same man commit at least 7 different double initial murders? Or did one man commit the first killings and then inspire a copycat killer to commit the rest? Or did multiple men commit the 3 upstate New York murders? Is America loaded with child rapists and or child killing dirtbags? A lot of disturbing questions to look into today. All of this and more explored on today's dark and disturbing true crime edition of Timesuck.
You're listening to Timesuck.
Happy Monday, time suckers. Hail Nimrod. Hail Lucifina. Praise Bojangles. Praise Triple M. Can you believe 2018 is almost over? Just a few weeks left. What a year. What a crazy year. One of the craziest and best years of my life. Hope it's been good to you. If it's been horrible, then you know what? Fuck 2018. You'll be happy to know that 2018 will be dead in just a few weeks. And 2019 will be born, and we can begin anew. I'm Dan Cummins, sweet meat master, suck master, undisputed champion of Chikatilo's Royal Rumble. Sunday. Elite master Hoover of the glorious kingdom of Suckdom. And you are humble servant to Nimrod, and you are listening to Timesuck. You remember the Cult of Curious? Welcome. Recorded as usual in the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho Suck Dungeon with Reverend Dr. Joe motherfucking Paisley. Sitting at a fancy computer, putting all those radio skills, music skills to work. Did you know that Joe is also lead vocalist, songwriter for metal band Mu8ders? Have you checked out Mu8ders? You can listen to him on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, other places that involve technology and music, joining forces in an unholy union of screaming and metal. You listen to him shred. I recommend it. I saw him in Spokane a few weeks ago, and they're a great band. Seriously. Not just saying that because he's actually listening right now to all this happen. He didn't know this was going to happen. Joe says that he does all the work, and the rest of the guys don't have talent and are just along for the ride. I do think that's weird. Because when I watched them live, I thought it was like a team effort. He said that's not true. He said they're just, I think he used the phrase disposable puppets, and he's pulling the strings. I'm kidding. His bandmates actually listen to the show as well, and they're good, man. They're really good. Mu8ders great. You ready for some true crime today, though, suckers? I almost called you guys dirtbags because I'm going to be talking about dirtbags. You're not the dirtbags. We're going to be talking about an alarming amount of dirtbags, though. Maybe some of you are dirtbags. I can't control who listens. We're going to suck on all of them after a few announcements and some sponsors. Today's Timesuck brought to you once again by the Jim Jeffries Show podcast. Jim, if you don't know, one of the best comics working today. Edgy, smart, a combo I thoroughly enjoy. And the Jim Jeffries Show on Comedy Central covers the most controversial issues of today through Jim's distinctive brand of comedy and global point of view. And the Jim Jeffries Show podcast is a slightly more podcasty version of this already great show. So you can listen each week as Jim Jeffries, co-host for a Shah, sit down with friends and guests to discuss news, politics, all the things Jim couldn't, wouldn't, and shouldn't say on TV. Subscribe now to the Jim Jeffries Show podcast. Listen to new episodes every Wednesday on your favorite podcast app. Timesuck also brought to you today by NHTSA, NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Commission. Everyone knows about the risks of, driving drunk. I certainly do. I have a DUI. You may have heard my story about it on my Hear This album several years back. I've joked about what I went through, after I was arrested, but drunk driving, certainly not funny. You could get in a crash like I did, or people could get hurt or killed because of your terrible choices, which I could have easily done. You could get arrested. You could incur huge legal expenses, possibly even lose your job. Drunk driving is why I haven't done shows in Canada for years. Very hard for me to get up to Canada. Still cannot go to Canada for a vacation because of my record. And deserved. We all know the consequences of driving drunk, but one thing's for sure, you're wrong if you think it's no big deal. Drive sober or get pulled over, time suckers. Laugh at my mistake, but don't make my mistake yourself. Thanks for continued reviews, everybody. Always appreciated. Rating and reviewing Timesuck wherever you listen is the easiest way to support and spread the suck. It only takes a few moments, and it means a lot to us here. We're working hard to try and make this show better. We appreciate any support you can give, and so many of you are so supportive. Very thankful. Thankful to all the new listeners popping over from the Rizzuto Show in St. Louis. Thank you, Rizzuto and crew, for showing so much love to Timesuck. Thank you, Rizzuto, for actually listening to the show, being a Timesucker. That was unexpected and much appreciated. You guys are very, very good at what you do. Lots of new tour dates up at dancummins.tv now. Also, Texas Suckers. We have now added 2 Texas shows. That was the most anger over where we weren't able to get. Going back to Houston and Dallas, and then the last city we're trying to lock up is Chicago, and then I think that's it because otherwise I will go insane from being gone too much. I already got to bring the kids out to some of these dates because it's too much travel. But going to a lot of fun places, starting off with Providence, Bridgeport, Albany, New Brunswick, Madison, Philadelphia, Salt Lake City, Birmingham, Atlanta, Nashville, Huntsville, Naples, Miami, Cleveland, on and on and on. A lot of dates up. Called the Happy Murder Tour, and Facebook and Instagram not happy about the title or the images that I've been putting on social media. You can check it out, Dan Cummins Comedy. I can't boost them. They will not let me spread them to other people because apparently I violate some kind of code of conduct at Facebook and Instagram, which is fucking ridiculous. You can promote any violent movie you want to, but I have a picture of me in blood, and I'm just telling jokes about theoretical violence, and suddenly I'm the asshole who can't promote himself. Even though, you could do a movie where 1,000 people fucking die violently, and you can put your trailer on Facebook, and they're like, ha ha, yay! Let's spread this! So I'm sure I'll be making fun of them pretty much all of 2019 for the ridiculous policies. So check it out. Hope you can come out to some shows. Sometimes I'm doing some shows in small venues, and it's not Not a lot of tickets in a few of the cities. So based on last year, they will sell it in advance. And if you don't get them in advance, you won't go. Yeah. So thanks for gobbling up. Also, a lot of the fun merch in the store. We got a lot diverse range of products now. And also, Daniel from St. Louis, you left your challenge coin at the show at Helium. The one that you brought and I signed, I gave it to a staff member named Sharonda. So Sharonda at the Helium Comedy Club in St. Louis knows about your coin. Contact the club, get it back. And I think that's all. I think that's all the stuff before I can get into the meat of today's show. So thanks for that, allowing me to do some housekeeping. Now it's time to get into the Alphabet Murders. Hail Nimrod. A lot of different ground to cover today. This is not just a straightforward narrative, time suckers. We're going to take a peek into the lives of two different convicted serial killers. A waste of oxygen known as Joseph Nasso. That's one of them. Joseph convicted in Marin County, August 13th, 2013, for 4 double initial killings that took place in California between 1977 and 1994. 84-year-old inmate, AR 9737. Joseph Nasso sits on death row in San Quentin today. The man who for decades kept a disturbing rape diary or rape journal, prosecutors called it, for what seems to be many, many heinous crimes he was never tried for, never convicted of. He will likely die of natural causes, since California has not executed a prisoner in the last 13 years due to a federal moratorium in place since 2006 on the death penalty that rules that the death penalty in California is cruel and unusual based on the lethal injection method. I strongly disagree. When you hear later in this podcast about what Joseph did, what got him on death row, I think lethal injection seems far too humane. Oh, you might feel some pain the last few minutes? Fuck that guy. Tying him to a chair, letting him be eaten alive by rats, a la Suck Subject 51, the Iceman Richard Polish Savage Kuklinski's method, where he killed one of his victims that way in a cave, tied him to a chair, let rats eat him. I think that might be too good for Joseph. And Joseph isn't the only serial killer we're talking about today. Another suspect in some of the Alphabet murders is Kenneth Bianchi, one of the Hillside Stranglers, convicted of kidnapping, raping, torturing, murdering 10 women and girls between the ages of 12 and 28 with his cousin, Angelo Buono, around Los Angeles in 1977 and 78, and dumping their bodies on the hillsides northeast of Los Angeles. And then he was convicted of killing 2 additional women by himself in Washington State, January 11th, 1979, before being apprehended the next day, January 12th, currently serving a term of life in prison at Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, Washington, only a few hours from the Suck Dungeon. He'll be eligible for parole in 2025 at the age of 73. I don't like it. He may have also killed 3 young girls around Rochester, New York, where he, like Joseph, was born and raised. And there are a few other disturbing suspects, and we're going to look at them soon. Going to have to do today's timeline a little bit differently today. Going to have to break it up into 2. We'll chronologically look at the lives of each of the 3 Rochester area Alphabet murders, then look at the lives of various suspects, then go into Joseph's life, a bit of Kenneth's life. The Hillside Stranglers, is a suck unto itself. So let's get started with today's first of 2 Timesuck timelines. And also a special thanks to Sherry Farnsworth, author of The Alphabet Killer, the true story of the double initial murders. Hard to find a lot of information about this on the web. Most of what I found that was really good info came from this one book. All right, let's get into it.
Strap on those boots, soldier. We're marching down a Timesuck timeline.
Carmen Colon was born in Rochester, New York in 1961 to Giustiano and Guionina, and then spent the first half of her life in her parents' native Puerto Rico. With a family returned to Rochester, Carmen struggled to learn English and was placed in special education classes at John Williams School No. 5, like countless other students who spoke Spanish as a first language, because the schools at the time lacked the resources to accommodate these students. Despite this hurdle, Carmen had an upbeat personality. The principal of her school, Dr. Alice Young, later told the press that Carmen was a sweet little angel. When Carmen and her family returned from Puerto Rico in the mid-1960s, Carmen's father, Justiniano, abandoned the family, and then Justiniano's brother, Miguel, moved in with Guionina and became her common-law husband and Carmen's default stepdad. The old uncle stepdad situation, always a red flag, always a sign that there's a fair amount of dysfunction in your family tree. Uncle stepdad is going to show up later when we talk about suspects. Of course he is. Uncle stepdad doesn't seem like a good dude. And I'm guessing, I don't have any stats, I'm guessing uncle stepdads are probably bad people more often than non-uncle stepdads, at least in the modern era. Way back when, you married your dead brother's wife because she needed help with a homestead. And there was no other men in the area for her to bed. No other women for you to choose. Carmen had 5 brothers and sisters, and the 6 kids floated back and forth between Giannina's home and her paternal grandparents' home, which was just a 10-minute walk or 3-minute drive away. By the fall of 1971, 10-year-old Carmen living with her grandparents, where she had her own bedroom, a little more space. And then on November 16th, 1971, sometime around 4 p.m., Carmen's mother, Giannina, strode into her father-in-law's home to see her daughter, Carmen. She needed Carmen to go get some medicine for her 9-month-old baby stepsister. Not sure why she couldn't go get it herself. I mean, she just walked from her parents' house, from her house, Giannina, to her parents' house. Why couldn't she walk a little further to the pharmacy, especially when they lived in a sketchy-ass neighborhood? I know I don't really have any of the specific details of what was going on in the family that day, so maybe there was very good reasons, but it just seems like, okay, that's maybe not what I would do, but okay. They lived in a shitty neighborhood full of drug addicts, various vagrants, and criminals wandering the streets. So Carmen's Roman Catholic grandparents would not normally let Carmen run errands alone. But on this terrible day, Carmen's grandfather, Felix, he intended to accompany her. But then, unbeknownst to him, Carmen begged her mom, and her mom agreed to let her go by herself. And, Giannina gave in. And then when Felix realized that Giannina had gave in, she was already gone. And that's unfortunate tremendously here because Carmen bounced out the door around 4:25 p.m. into the cold November air. Within a few minutes, she'd reached Jack's Drugs. That little pharmacy about 2 blocks away, little strip mall. She walked up to the counter, handed the pharmacist, Jack Corbin, who the family knew, an empty bottle along with her mother's Medicaid card. And Corbin told her, take about half an hour to get everything ready. So Carmen said she would be back then, stepped out. And then a witness later reported seeing a child who looked like Carmen climbing into a car at dinner time that day near Jack's Drugs, but observed no struggle whatsoever, couldn't recall the make or model of the car. By 5 p.m., Carmen hadn't returned to either grandparents' home. To either her grandparents' home or her mother's home. So now the family's worried, and her stepdad, uncle stepdad, goes out to find her. A few minutes later, she'd be seen half naked, frantically waving her arms, screaming for help by the freeway, like I mentioned earlier, just desperately hoping somebody would save her. And it's just important to note that this people witnessing this, they witness it after Uncle Stepdad goes out to get her. Because this will come up later with the suspect list, that maybe she initially was okay, and then maybe Uncle Stepdad got a hold of her and then wasn't okay. By 7 p.m., the Cologne family had called the Rochester Police Department. Various friends and relatives were combing the streets in search of Carmen. The police did a methodical door-to-door search of the entire Bull's Head neighborhood where the families lived, 40 officers strong, looking for little Carmen. A handful of witnesses admitted to seeing Carmen that night, and they gave varying descriptions of the vehicle backing up towards her. One saying it looked just like the brand-new car 37-year-old Miguel Colon, Uncle Stepdad, just purchased. Yeah, okay, dirtbag alert. Miguel was immediately made the prime suspect in the case. Tips continue to filter in to this day, some even from Cologne family members who do insist that they think that Uncle Stepdad was the one who did it. On November 18th, 2 days after Carmen's disappearance, 15-year-old Mark Allen, 13-year-old James Gillen, riding their bikes in Riga, just outside the city of Churchville. And this is all outside the city of Rochester. They spot what they thought initially was a plastic broken doll crumpled against a boulder, laying in a ditch on the side of Stearns Road, a quiet, seldom traveled little side street. Closer inspection reveals the body of an actual child, wearing nothing but a sweater, blue socks, and white sneakers. Just like the girl that had been seen on I-490 West, it was 4:30 p.m., exactly 48 hours since Carmen had left Jack's Drugs. The media ran headlines for weeks about no one doing a damn thing to help little Carmen Colon. Headlines saying stuff like no one stopped, apathy abounds as motorists ignore girl, nobody stopped to save Carmen, girl is slain after motorists ignore her pleading for help, hundreds saw Carmen, no motorist stopped. Just a few of the headlines. And social psychologists to kind of explain this phenomena, social psychologist Victor Harris, working at the University of Buffalo, New York at the time, offered a theory as to why no one stopped based on research he was doing. He said this was what happened was a classic case of what's known as the bystander effect, a social psychological occurrence also known as crowd apathy or the diffusion of responsibility, also as Genovese syndrome. This phenomenon occurs when individuals witness an emergency but are reluctant to help if other people are present. The more witnesses there are to a crisis, the less likely any one individual will be to step in and offer assistance because everyone is falsely assuming that somebody else will take care of it or that there is no emergency if others around could handle it if needed. People just think if help is warranted, somebody else is gonna get to it. We can just truly be just a bunch of dumb herd animals sometimes. And full disclosure, I am guilty of this on a smaller level. Kind of for sure. I mean, I've driven past people sitting in their car on the side of the road with their hazards on, but only when they're sitting in their car. I guess I do just assume that if something serious is going on, like somebody else will help them. And also, I just see that they're not actively expressing, other than hazards, which just can mean like, hey, don't run into me. I just assume that like if they're not waving their arms frantically, it must not be that serious. Yeah. So I've definitely though never just ridden on by when someone is out there screaming and shouting, asking for help. Okay. So don't be a heartless prick. Stop if people need help. But maybe also if someone's waving you down and they're seem like an obvious carjacker. Maybe don't stop there, because that can be another angle of it. Sometimes people, out of self-preservation, don't want to stop and help because they're worried about what might happen to them. And in some cases, I do understand the rationale there for sure. But let's talk about this effect more. Before Carmen Cologne, the most famous recent example of the bystander effect had been the stabbing death of Kitty Genovese in Queens, New York in 1964, and that's where the name Genovese syndrome comes from. 28-year-old Kitty Genovese was attacked by a knife-wielding man. I remember studying this in psychology classes years ago. She returned home from work one cold morning on March 13th, 1964. Several neighbors had heard her screams as the mystery attacker began to repeatedly stab her in the back. Some even actually witnessed, actually saw her be stabbed. Yet only one spoke up and yelled for the attacker to stop, which they did briefly. But then they didn't come out and check on Kitty right away. The attacker ran away. She staggered alone towards the door of her apartment, collapsed outside the door, and then the attacker came back, continued to rape her, stabbed her, according to some reports, for up to a half an hour more, like the total attack time, and then fled. And then a neighbor, Sophia Farrar, finally did come out there and check on her after the attacker had left. All in all, estimated that 12 to 38 people saw or heard the lethal attacks. And while 2 people did later claim to call the police have no record of those calls. And the public was outraged. And then the New York Times published an article 2 weeks later called 38 Who Saw Murder Didn't Call the Police. And there is some things that are disputing some of the facts of that now. So a little bit of controversy of how exactly that happened. Everybody knows that it did happen, that she did die. People did hear, people did not go to help. I guess there's disputes about, how many people may have tried to call authorities or not call, or how long the attack went on. But it's also not an isolated incident. It's not like this is the only time we have to refer before this Carmen Cologne story of this happening. And there's much more recent examples, including one that happened, fairly near me. Spokane, 2009, the Riverfront Park rape. In 2009, a 27-year-old woman was brutally raped by a 53-year-old transient named Terry Lee in broad daylight. Middle of the day, Riverfront Park, a park I've been to many times. Hundreds of witnesses, including many children, either watched or listened to her screams, either saw it happen or heard her screams for help. No one did anything. No one called authorities. Everyone just assumed somebody else would help. There was an example in 2009 also that got much more nationwide publicity. I remember hearing about this in the news when a 15-year-old girl leaving her high school homecoming dance in Richmond, California, which is in the Bay Area near San Francisco, was brutally gang raped and beaten by several young men in just front of tons of witnesses. The attack left the young girl in critical condition, for more than 2 hours. Some 20 witnesses either watched or took part in a violent sexual assault. Although word quickly spread about what was happening outside on school property, not a single individual called 911. And they do have cell phones now. Nobody did anything to help the girl until her battered, unconscious body was later found under a bench. A fellow student, Manuel Ortega, was the instigator of the attack, received a 32-year prison sentence in the plea deal. He had ripped off her clothes, punched and kicked her in the head, raped her, encouraged others to rape her, and was also convicted of raping her with a foreign object. and up to 20 people watched and didn't bother to call the police. Powerful reminder to find out what the fuck is going on when you think someone's in trouble. All right? You are an accessory to the crime if you just blow it off like, it's not my problem. No, it is your fucking problem because you heard about it. When you hear screaming and moaning from the other side of the wall in an apartment building, I guess you can kind of write off your head like, maybe they're having just rough consensual sex. And maybe they are. There's a lot of pervs out there. That's okay. Nothing wrong if you want to do it loud and proud. Orgasms more intense when you throw caution to the wind. Really get into it. Really let yourself go. I get it. Hard to finish if you're worrying about the neighbors. You got to focus. When you hear that, you could think like, screams of no or role playing. Some are. Some people do enjoy a rape fantasy. Not my thing. But if you're both into it, why should I try and make you feel guilty about a consensual act? But what if something much worse is going on? You need to at least find out. What if it's not role playing? What if it is rape? Nothing wrong with knocking on the door and killing a boner. Okay, it'll come back. Because that's worst case. You ruin somebody's sex life. Actually, worst case would be you get dragged in to an actual crime and then something bad happens to you. But that's highly unlikely. That is highly unlikely. Realistically, worst case, somebody else dies because you don't do anything. Somebody else gets, really messed up because you don't do anything. So call the police, check on it. Don't just ignore it. And if you see somebody half naked, especially a child, frantically waving their arms for help, fucking stop and help them. Call the police immediately. If you're packing some heat, put that heat in your hand and get ready to pull that trigger. Not kidding, man. Some dirtbag puts you in a you or them situation, put the fucking dirtbag down. And those two teen boys, I know, I get the stuff, definitely riles me. After those two teen boys find Carmen's body 48 hours after she disappears, her young body removed for autopsy. And the next day, her coat is found in a culvert about 300 feet from her body, where it looked as if it had been tossed out, maybe out of a fleeing car, maybe as an afterthought. 11 days later, her green pants are found near her service road, roughly a mile before exit 3, right where witnesses had seen the car and seen the girl running. Discovery of the pants led to the theory that that Carmen had either interrupted a rape herself, like a rape attempt with somebody else, or that she had already been raped before she made a run for it. Man, find him and kill him, Bojangles. Attack, seek and destroy. Monroe County Medical Examiner Dr. John Edlund conducted the autopsy, determined that Carmen had been raped, beaten, strangled to death. Severe bruising, what appeared to be human fingernail scratches, covered her slim little body. He also found that she had suffered fractures to her skull, and the area around her neck had been gravely injured during the ferocious attack. Police investigate Carmen's crime thoroughly in April 1972. By the end of April, police had questioned roughly 1,000 people, hundreds of possible suspects, including numerous known sex offenders in the area, had been investigated in the first few weeks after her disappearance alone. And then when no arrests had been made, the police moved in. A handful of investigators kept their case. Oh, sorry, not moved in. I was like, what, moved in? Moved on. That'd be weird. When no arrests had been made, police just, they moved into new apartments, started new lives for themselves because they were that frustrated. No, they moved on, sadly, to other cases. A handful of investigators kept the case officially open, but with no new clues, no significant leads, other crimes took priority. Most of the original investigators seem to still believe that Uncle Stepdad did it. And when it comes to like family versus non-family and like these sex type crimes, they just say 90% of child molesters are acquainted with their victim. Not sure if that's a scary number or a comforting one. I guess the odds of a stranger molesting your kid are pretty small, way smaller than you or someone doing it. And if you're not going to do it, then I guess the greatest odds are that somebody in your immediate family or circle of friends, I guess acquaintances could do it. They say that 90%, or of that 90%, 30% are relatives, fathers, stepfathers, brothers, uncles, grandfathers, cousins. The rest are people like babysitters, neighbors, friends. Only 10%, again, are strangers, man. I expect that number to be so much higher. But I guess, these kind of crimes are usually crimes of opportunity and abuse of trust, and kids, trust the people they know. More on Carmen suspects after we break down the other two New York alphabet murders. Time to go back again to 1961. Carmen Cologne and this next victim, Wanda Valikovich, were both born that year. Wanda was born on August 4th, 1961, to Joyce and Richard Valikovich in Rochester, poor working class upstate New Yorkers. In 1967, Richard dies of a heart attack at the age of 30 when Wanda is just 6 years old and her little sister Rita is 5, and the already poor family pushed down into true poverty. 1968, Joyce moves herself and her two girls into an upstairs apartment in a brown two-story clapboard house at 1321 and a half, one of those -2, Avenue D is the address, so-so Rochester neighborhood at best. Wanda was a redheaded, blue-eyed, freckle-faced kid who by 11 was mature for her years. She was a 65-pound tomboy who loved playing outside with friends and staying up as late as mom would allow, and also kind of like loved being a little mini mom herself. Wanda's family survived barely on the few $100s Joyce received monthly from her deceased husband's Social Security benefits. And maybe they also struggled because Joyce loved to frequent the bars in the neighborhood and often took her girls into the taverns that allowed her to bring kids in while she drank. So sadly, both of these first two girls not raised in the best of family environments. Joyce gave birth to a third daughter, Michelle, shortly after they moved into the new neighborhood. And then Peyton Jr. Rainey moved in and became Joyce's common-law husband. Stepdad referred to as Junior? Step up from Uncle Stepdad, but probably not ideal. If you're a junior and you're a great guy, good for you. It just seems like a weird nickname for a grown man. Hi, I'm Junior, and this is my buddy Baby. This is my buddy Fetus. This is Tiny, Wimp. We got Micropeen hanging in there in the back. It was like, what? Just I don't know. It's very weird. If I'm almost a junior, my middle name's it, but I don't know. I just wouldn't go by Junior. Anyway. April 2nd, 1973. It's a cold, wet, gray day in Rochester. Wanda's mood is sunny as she's racing home from school late on the corner of Avenue A in Conkney because she's got the best report card she's ever had. Even though she reportedly missed 57 days of school that year. 57. No mention of catastrophic illness, but 57 days. Clearly did not have a stable home life. But her fifth grade teacher said that she was an average student, a little above average in reading, which I think is pretty exceptional when you're missing that much school. Also reported to be, again, happy, personable. She was well-liked. Wanda's teacher would later tell the media that she could sense that Wanda had too many responsibilities at home. Code for her parents did not have their shit together. Crazy. Junior's not running a tight ship? Get the fuck out of here. But none of this seemed to even bother Wanda. In fact, she seemed to bask in the role of little mom or mini adult, that's what one murder investigator would later call her. She was a street-smart kid, seemingly capable of taking care of herself, helping to care for her mothers and sisters. By the time they were 10 and 11, Wanda and her little sister Rita both become accustomed to interrupting their play to run more grown-up type errands for mom. I'm sure there was stuff. I didn't say this, but I get the vibe. It's a lot of like, hey, let's go get your mom some smokes. Walking alone through their sketchy neighborhood. Sometimes they walk together. Sometimes they go with a friend. Usually Wanda, though, liked to go alone if it was her turn. Necessities were needed the Monday evening of April 2nd, 1973. The family pets were out of food. 2-year-old Michelle was out of diapers. And they needed basics like bread and milk for dinner. So they send the kid instead of mom going. And again, I don't understand the logic here. Like, why can't the kid not walk around a sketchy-ass neighborhood and stay home? And why can't mom go get the stuff herself? And my gut tells me because mom probably not in the running for a lot of Mom of the Year awards based on everything I hear about in the story. And I don't have more ammunition about that here in a second. So sends Wanda out. She puts her coloring book down. She heads out to this nearby deli, and she just passed her school, just 3 blocks away. She's very familiar with the route to get there. Took only 4 minutes. Dressed in the blue and white checker dress, white socks, sneakers she wore to school that day. The little redhead of Avenue D, as the Democrat and Chronicle will call her, walked down the street, arrived at the Hillside neighborhood grocer, dutifully picks up every item on her list, 2 quarts of milk, package of disposable diapers, bread, cupcakes, soup, tuna fish, dog food, cat food. Bagger William Van Orden crams everything into one overloaded paper sack so she'd only need a single bag to carry home. And store clerk Richard Chechi jots down a total of $8.52 in Joyce's brown charge book. And then Chechi says that everything seemed normal. Says all Wanda said to him was, I'm in a hurry, which wasn't unlike her, because a lot of times, mom told her to hurry back home. Said it was a normal thing for her to say. Store employees, 2 male customers, a third individual standing outside the store, all see Wanda leave Hillside carrying the bulky bag of groceries between 5:15, 5:30 p.m. She's heading north on Conkney, heading towards home. The Walakoviches were regulars at Hillside, and Joyce knew exactly how long it would take, her daughter to walk to and from the store, pick up groceries, all that stuff. So when the amount of time has elapsed, and she's not back, Wanda sends the other daughter, Rita, to the store to see what the holdup was. Again, fucking weird. One daughter's not here, so who do I send? Another daughter. What's going on with you? Why can't you go? But Rita's friend, 12-year-old Francine, joins her. At 7:47, 2.5 hours since she had last seen her daughter. The other daughter and friend can't find anybody. Can't find her. Can't find Wanda. So Joyce calls the Rochester Police Department to report Wanda missing. And then she heads to the deli herself to talk to the employees. Okay, so a couple hours later, she's like, I don't know, maybe I should go talk to somebody. By 8:15, a massive search and rescue is underway. Police and neighbors were searching backyards, alleys, railroad tracks, the entire area between the tracks and Avenue A. While talking to the missing persons report, police, this is what makes me very angry towards Wanda's mom. And I know it's not her fault. I know. Let me rephrase that. I know that she is not the person who does something to her daughter specifically. But check this shit out. Police are told of a close encounter Wanda and a 9-year-old friend had 2 nights earlier. 2 nights before she goes missing. A strange man near some fucking railroad tracks a block away at around 10 p.m. is literally hiding behind some bushes like a creep out of a shitty after-school movie. He jumps out of the bushes, chases them, runs after them. They have to run away. They don't see his face, but they do get a glimpse of his shoes and with some buckles on them. They give this description to the police. He is a sex offender, a known sex offender in the area. Joyce is asked by police if she was aware of this incident. She reluctantly said that she was. So she knows that 2 nights earlier, a known sex offender had been hiding in the bushes and then chases her daughter. And like her 11-year-old or 10-year-old daughter. And then sends her out the next day. What the fuck, lady? Come on, Junior. What are you doing? 10-year-old daughter gets, chased, man. Yep. So, I don't know. This whole, like, this mother does remind me of, like, a character from, like, Shameless. Like, somebody Frank Gallagher would date. And again, I feel terrible for what happened to her daughter. I can't imagine losing a child that way. But come on, man. Parent. Be a parent. One of the first things Lindsay and I did in our current neighborhood before we even moved in was check out the local police registries for known sex offenders. There aren't any in our neighborhood, like right around us, but there are a few blocks away that I would like to beat unconscious. I'd like to throw their bodies in the perfect world in the back of my truck, drive them out to the woods, and perform some Wild West vigilante justice on them. Yeah! Time to die, motherfuckers! Have them dig some graves, strip naked, show them some pictures of kids. And whoever gets a boner gets dumped in the dirt. How about that little test? How about that little Rorschach boner test? I do hate pedophiles, man. Lowest of the low to me. Humanity's bottom feeders. Grabbing an innocent child, abusing them, killing them in some cases. And it's always that, but I can't help it. I have these urges that I can't control. All right, maybe. Okay, I'm not saying you don't. I get it, but what if I have the urge to kill people with your urge? Maybe I can't control that. I can't actually, because I don't want to go to prison. If only I could be some kind of Dexter. If only I could just get away with it. But I don't think I could. I'd probably drop my driver's license or something. And when the kids were with us down in L.A., before we moved up to Coeur d'Alene, I never let them play outside unsupervised ever. And I'm not saying I'm some perfect parent, because I'm certainly not. I'm not at all. Not even close. Not even the ballpark. But yeah, I would I'm like, nah. I've heard too many stories like this. No way, man. No thanks. I would take them to a park. And even sometimes there, if I'd look at my phone and then pop up and I couldn't see him, immediate panic. And I would jump up and start yelling until I'd found him. Cold sweat pops out immediately. Anyway, back to Wanda. Not trying to victim shame the mother Joyce here. I know the real monster is whoever took Wanda, but man, please, time suckers, protect your kids. You listen to this show, you know there's a lot of sick fucks out there in the world. Be suspicious of everyone. It's worth it. Nothing is more important than your kid's safety. Like nothing. Man, I'm not gonna name names. I know I can't shut up about this right now, but there have been certain relatives and family friends I've had over the years who I have made it very clear my kids are never, ever to be alone with. And these people have never been convicted of anything. They just gave me the creeps. Just my gut, just based on some circumstances of their life. I'm like, nope, They never get to be around the kids alone, ever. And I check in with my kids way too much about it too. Like so much that they just kind of like, oh, Jesus, Dad. Now when I talk, I'm like, you guys know that no one's supposed to touch your private parts. Actually, they're a little older now, so I don't even say private parts. I just say it. I'm like, no one's supposed to touch your dick, not your balls, not your butt, especially not your butthole, not your vagina, not your boobs. None of that. None of that gets touched by anybody at all. By anybody at all. You, other than yourself. If you can touch it, fine. No one else gets to touch it. Maybe a doctor, but that's it. But seriously, I'm like, nobody. And I tell them too. I'm like, if somebody tells you that they'll hurt somebody, they'll hurt you. If you find out, I swear I tell my kids, to the point Lindsay eventually has to step, and I'm like, I swear to God I'll kill him. That's not true. We have guns. I will murder them. I will put them down. And that's when Lindsay's like, oh, all right, okay, that's enough. Okay, now you're getting weird. You're not going to go to prison. I'm like, yeah, but I will. I'll tell my kids I will go to prison. It's worth it in that circumstance. Okay. Now we're finally back for real. April 3rd, 1973. This is a day, should have been a time of celebration in the Valakovich household. It was Wanda's little sister Rita's 10th birthday. She's turning 10 now, but you can imagine no one's celebrating because nobody can find Wanda at 10:15 that morning. Before authorities had arrived at the house bearing the bad news, Joyce hears over a police scanner that a young girl's body had been located at a rest area in Webster. She knows immediately it's Wanda. 15 minutes earlier, New York State Trooper Thomas Zimmer on routine patrol along New York State Route 104 in Webster when he's pulled onto the approach ramp of the old Irondequoit Bay rest area just before the bridge that crosses over the bay. He had spotted something white on the hillside. He saw Wanda's bare legs. She was laying face down on the cold, barren ground, lifeless in the dress she had worn to school the previous day. She had been found dead in Webster, and that's the initials again, Wanda Valakovich, which because it's Polish and they don't know how words work, is actually spelled with a W. Found dead in Webster. Dr. John Edlund, the same medical examiner who performed Carmen's autopsy, determined that Wanda, too, had been sexually assaulted before being strangled to death with an object, perhaps a smooth belt. Unlike Carmen, who was left naked from the waist down, Wanda at least still had on her dress, but some sources say that it appears that she was redressed after being assaulted. Stomach contents revealed she had eaten custard within 2 hours of her death, even though she had left home with no cash and had not purchased such an item at the Hillside Deli. Who bought her this custard? One can only imagine it was the killer. Force of 50 officers this time dispatched to canvass the Valakovich neighborhood as well as the location where the body was found, methodically going door to door to check for suspects, see if anybody had seen anything suspicious. No luck. Even though investigators initially felt confident that the neighborhood was too populated for someone not to have seen the person who had taken her. 2 detectives from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, 2 who had investigated the Carmen Cologne murder, are assigned to Wanda's case on the chance the 2 homicides are in fact connected. After all, these girls are nearly the same age. Both have been abducted while running late afternoon errands for their mothers. Both are found by the side of the road, raped and strangled to death. Authorities spent the first few days bringing in men, including some sex offenders living in the area who had been questioned regarding Carmen's murder. An elderly man was brought in, some old creep who had offered Wanda and her friend a dime for kisses in a playground 2 years earlier. Creepy-ass old fuck. Some ex-con who'd attacked a young girl in late 1960s was also questioned. Family and friends who knew Wanda said she was too street smart to be lured in by a stranger, that she knew better. Her playmate said she would have put up a fight if someone had tried to force her into the vehicle. But, I guess based on these assumptions, investigators considered it was a strong possibility that Wanda knew her killer and gone willingly with him. I don't know, though. I just think, she was under 70 pounds. She wouldn't have been that hard for a grown-ass man to force into a car, van, or whatever. And there is this thing where a lot of situational type child molesters, a lot of times when it is a stranger, it is this kind of the situational dictate. It's a crime of opportunity. These people feel like they have an immediate need that they feel must be satisfied. They're like rabid dogs. And maybe Wanda was just walking by, and she was last seen by some school grounds, which is noteworthy because places like schools, playgrounds are magnets for these kind of predators. Street smart or not, one of these people could have easily just forced her into a vehicle. 4 days after Wanda was abducted, just minutes from home, loved ones are saying goodbye and burying her. The day after Wanda's body was found, the Gannett Rochester newspapers offered a reward of $2,500 for information leading to the apprehension of the killer. And as was the case with Carmen Cologne, a secret witness line was established, which callers could identify themselves or remain anonymous. A week after the suspect witness program had been implemented, it received nearly 400 phone tips. And letters also were sent into the police. The Citizens for a Decent Community, CDC, initially offered a reward of $1,000. An amount increased to $6,000 when the Rochester Auto Dealers Association contributed $5,000 to the fund. God bless those people. Hail Nimrod. By April 11th, just a week after Wanda's murder, rewards leading to the killer's identity had climbed to $9,951, equivalent to roughly $50,000 today. On April 25th, the CDC sponsored 5 billboards offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to the killer. They'd actually also done that with Carmen's case. An anonymous caller came in on the secret witness line claiming to have seen a man force a red-haired girl into a car at the corner of Conkney Avenue and Wanda Street before 5:30 and 6 p.m. Unfortunately, when police appealed to the first anonymous tipster who allegedly saw this happen, couldn't get him to call back. And no part of me understands it. No part of me understands, like, why wouldn't you call in when you see that happen initially? And then when you hear about this and then you do call in, and then you're not, like, they're putting out more, like, ads in the paper saying, like, hey, please call back. And you're just like, nah. Man, fuck that anonymous caller. Police received word that a couple of 10-year-old girls said they'd been approached on Saturday, 2 days before Wanda disappeared, by a man about 30 years old wearing a long black coat. Tried to get him into a 1971 Ford LTD, black on top, white on the bottom. This man had a black beard, a mole on his forehead, according to the Democrat and Chronicle. The incident took place on the other side of the Genesee River, directly west of where Wanda had disappeared. But police were sadly unable to locate this additional mystery perv. And how many fucking pervs are in this neighborhood, by the way? A month later, an article in the Times Union called Probe into Wanda's Slaying Could Be Nearing Dead End said that after one of the most exhaustive murder investigations in Monroe County history, Wanda's killer was still eluding law enforcement officials, and they just didn't have the leads to follow up on or enough evidence to really charge anyone or to continue to thoroughly pursue this investigation. So, just kind of dwindles down. And then 9 months after this article, a third double initial area child will go missing. And we're going to talk about that disappearance immediately after a word from one of today's sponsors. Timesuck is brought to you again by the Great Courses Plus. Hail Nimrod! The Great Courses Plus lets you view the world through different perspectives, continually surprise yourself with new discoveries, kind of like Timesuck. Get unlimited access to learn from people who are passionate about their areas of expertise, whether it's history or ancient Egypt, astronomy, forensic history, brain hacks, photography, etc., etc., etc. Watch or listen anytime with the Great Courses Plus app. I have been enjoying via the app another one of their brand new courses, The Philosophy of Humor. Right, very interesting to me as a stand-up comic. This course gives great insight into what makes us laugh and why, the relationship between humor and tragedy, what makes a joke a joke. It even looks at whether or not a sense of humor is necessary to be fully human. I think so. I've met some so-called humans who read strongly as humorless robots when I've spoken to them. They have 24 different lectures on humor. I just watched Lecture 3, The Science of Laughter, presented by Professor Stephen Gimble, PhD in philosophy from Johns Hopkins. He's been given the Bernice L. Thompson Distinguished Teaching Award while teaching at Johns Hopkins. And in one of his many lectures, he talks about why we laugh. Like why do we make this noise? Why do we make this noise? Yeah, here. Well, what about this one? All right. What about that super annoying one? Why would you make that noise? Well, Professor Gimble discusses the way different mechanisms elicit laughter and how different stimuli trigger those mechanisms. Understanding slapstick humor, that actually originates in a different part of the brain than understanding sarcasm. Like, you can have a head injury and no longer care for slapstick humor, but totally still get sarcasm, or vice versa. I just find that fascinating. And he just talks about how the ability to understand humor develops as we age, because as the brain develops, it focuses on different things, and it can be messed with in different ways to elicit laughter, like because all laughter originates initially from the old lizard brain, parts of our brain, used to let kind of chimps know that we're okay. Being tricked, we get it. We're not mad. We're not going to beat anyone else to death. It's a very ancient form of communication at its basis. Used to express enjoyment of understanding the incongruity or absurdity of what someone is doing. And then check this out: from like 6 months to a year, when we're little babies, we mentally establish something called object permanence. That's the ability to recognize that something out of sight is not gone; it's just somewhere else. And that's when the peekaboo game becomes real fun. That's why 9-month-old babies love playing peekaboo. They know you're not gone; you're just being a silly goose hiding. They don't understand how. They understand the game and they find it funny. By 2, though, we're over that joke. It's old news. It's hacky. Now we're able to understand the expected uses of objects, what you're supposed to do with things, which is why if you tell a 2-year-old you're going to go to their belly button and put their applesauce away, you're killing, you're crushing with the 2-year-old. You're a comedy god. And all that's explained much better and in much more detail by Professor Gimble. And if you're curious, you can listen for free. Now is the perfect time to get started with the Great Courses Plus. For a limited time only, you get a full month of free courses, lectures when you sign up at thegreatcoursesplus.com/timesuck. Start your free month today, only at thegreatcoursesplus.com/timesuck. timesuck. That's thegreatcoursesplus.com/timesuck. Link on the Timesuck app in today's episode description. And now for the third victim's tale in the upstate New York double initial killings. Like Wanda and Carmen, 11-year-old Michelle Mayanza was on a late afternoon errand for her mother when she was abducted. On November 28, 1962, Michelle Mayanza was born to parents Christopher and Carolyn in Rochester. They had two sons already, Stephen and Angelo. Nearly a decade later, Christopher and Carolyn would separate, and Michelle's two brothers would live with their father at 21 Hall Street in Rochester, and Michelle remained with her mother at 25 Webster Crescent, along with their two younger sisters, Marie, who was 8, and baby Christine. In a Times Union article dated November 27, 1973, Christopher described 11-year-old Michelle as quiet, happy-go-lucky, friendly, but emotionally immature compared to other girls her age, and she was sadly the victim of relentless bullying at school. She was teased, picked on by kids her own age because she was overweight, and she preferred to hang out with younger kids who just accepted her, how she was and looked up to her. School staff told the Times Union in December 1973 that Michelle was an average student who fell into the normal range, but is making satisfactory progress. Carolyn was a protective mother. She always had her 3 daughters with her wherever she went, according to neighbors on the dead-end Webster Crescent, whether she was going to the laundry, a store, or a friend's house. November 26, 1973, Carolyn arrives at school at dismissal time to pick up her daughter, except that 8-year-old Marie and the neighbor girl, they did come out to pick up her daughters, but 11-year-old, but she's told that 11-year-old daughter Michelle has to stay. So Carolyn then makes the decision she would regret for the rest of her life. She walks back home with just the baby and the two younger girls, confident that Michelle, who would turn 11 the next day, would be fine walking home alone just this one time. And I feel so bad for this poor mom. She, to me, sounds like a hardworking, protective lady doing her best. She did walk to her daughter's school to get her. That's not even that far away, but she does do it every day. But then she finds out, they don't call for some reason, this school, to tell her that her daughter has detention. And then she has to walk back alone, just a few blocks, nothing. I mean, just this one time. And then the worst happens. Michelle had been having a day that was going, fast from bad to worse. Statements made recently on blogs by former students from Michelle's class would later state that she'd been unfairly kept at school for detention. Some girl was bullying her, and she kind of gave it back to her a little bit, and then they both got in trouble. I've always hated that. I always feel like that's a lazy way to do things. As a teacher, maybe there's more to it that I don't understand. But if one kid's being a fucking asshole, and then the other kid eventually is like, go fuck yourself. I don't think the kid who says something at the end after being tormented should get in any trouble. That's like I've always told my kids. I'm like, I don't give a shit what your school system says. If some kids hit you, you fucking pop them back as hard as you goddamn want in their faces. You know what? I will go to court for you if necessary to defend your right to defend yourself. Anyway. Getting riled up again. I'm talking about all this kid stuff. So between 3:15 p.m., Michelle finally leaves school 33, heads down Webster Avenue alone. Normally, Michelle would walk past her uncle's gas station at the intersection of Webster Avenue and Melville Street, just a few hundred feet from her doorstep. Not that day, because she was a sweet, thoughtful little girl on a mission to locate her mother's purse that had been left at the Super Saver store in Goodman Plaza the previous Saturday. Man, these are all sad, but this one especially gets me for some reason. She's a good kid. She's getting picked on at school. She's going to do something nice for her hardworking mom. She doesn't return home by 5 that afternoon. Her distressed mom goes to the house of her neighbor. The woman said Carolyn could hardly talk. She was crying so hard, so worried. 5:40 p.m., Carolyn calls the Rochester Police Department to report her daughter is missing. Friends and family assure the authorities that Michelle had never run away before. Carolyn says she's unaware of anything that would be going on in her life that would make her want to run away. According to the Director of Health and Physical Education for the Rochester City Schools, Nicholas Zona, all children 4th through 6th grade have been required to watch a movie called Stranger Beware. Michelle knew not to willingly get in a car or to walk off with a stranger. So had she gone with somebody she knew, or again, like we kind of talked about earlier, had somebody just been able to overpower her. By now, various agencies working together knew the drill. Another young girl's gone missing. Foul play is again suspected, of course. This girl, she has hazel eyes, shoulder length, dark brown hair with bangs. She was last seen in the vicinity of Webster Avenue and Goodman Plaza wearing this purple coat, silver trim, black boots, went to her knees, purple slacks with a zigzag pattern. Her description is broadcast hourly over police radios and patrol cars, continues to be broadcast throughout the night. The northeast part of the city is immediately and painstakingly searched with special emphasis on Michelle's neighborhood. A door-to-door search, again, commences, continues throughout the night. That yields no results again. Police investigators, they spread out, canvass parking lots, parks, deserted areas, just fucking everywhere. Can't find anything. Dawn hits, still no leads. Family and authorities are becoming obviously less optimistic that she's going to be found alive and okay. And then Carolyn Mayenza collapses and is rushed to the hospital. She has basically a nervous breakdown. She's placed under sedation while the police continue their manhunt at about 9:15 a.m. on November 28th. 2 days after Michelle Mayenza had last been seen alive, her badly bruised, fully clothed body was found dumped in a ditch in a rural area of Wayne County, about 17 miles east of where she had last been seen. Eugene Vanderwall, the fire chief of the Walworth Volunteer Fire Department, told police he was driving east on Eddy Road en route to 476 Eddy Road to pick up Richard Stalker so they could look at a new fire truck. Spots Michelle's crumpled body in the grass by the north side of the road, 70 yards from the intersection of Mill Road or with Mill Road in the little town of Macedon, little town 18 miles southeast of downtown Rochester, just laying in a ditch. So again, MMM. Michelle Mayenza found in Macedon. Like Wanda, Michelle had been redressed, but several snap fasteners on her shirt had been torn in the assault, according to the coroner. Her coat was found in a ditch half mile away where her body had been dumped. This means the killer probably either left the coat at the scene of the crime before dumping the body elsewhere, or noticed it still in his vehicle after disposing of the body and tossed it out the window as he drove away. Kind of similar how Carmen's stuff had been displaced and discarded. Similarities between the three murders prompted investigators to confess to the press after Michelle's body was found that there was a very strong possibility that one individual had committed all these crimes. This killer was targeting prepubescent girls, abducting them from the streets in broad daylight, violating them, strangling them, leaving their bodies on the side of roads with little attempt to hide their bodies. Either they didn't give a shit whether or not they were found, or they actually wanted the bodies to be found. Maybe they got off on scaring the public or outsmarting authorities, kind of like the Zodiac killer did. Michelle's official cause of death was asphyxiation by strangulation, and she'd been brutally raped before being murdered, just like Carmen and Wanda. She reported in the Democrat and Chronicle that Michelle's body bore marks about the face, neck, and one arm. It appeared that a garroting device, perhaps a thin belt, had been used to strangle both Michelle and Wanda, but Michelle's neck had a clean red line circling it, as well as bruising that indicated the killer also used both of his hands. Bruises were found on upper arms and elsewhere based on the remains of a cheeseburger found in her stomach. The coroner, Edlund, determined that Michelle had eaten within an hour and a half of her death. So a strong suspect does emerge. A promising lead does come forth from one of Michelle's young friends. She said that she was on her way to another girl's house on Monday afternoon, saw Michelle walking down Ackerman towards Goodman Plaza. When the girl left her friend's house and headed back towards Webster, she saw Michelle pass by, riding in the front seat of a beige car that was speeding out of Goodman Plaza toward Webster Avenue. That car nearly collided with another vehicle that was turning from Webster onto Ackerman. The witness told her mother what she had seen when she got home, but that was before Michelle had been reported missing, so neither thought much of it again until news of her murder broke several days later. And then a local firefighter, Dennis Termini, who had a car just like the one seen by Michelle's young friend and the others at the intersection that day, right down to the dent, became a suspect a little bit later. He was suspected after he committed suicide a month later. More on him in a bit. December 5th, 27 community organizations sponsored a public meeting at the East Area High School, a few blocks from where she disappeared, to offer parents ideas on how to keep their kids safe, how to brainstorm to keep the neighborhood safe. On December 6th, the Time Unions published a plea to the killer on behalf of the community called Open Letter to Slayer, Turn Yourself In. Soon a man came forward with information about a strange encounter he had with a man on State Route 350 nearby. According to an article called Man Wanted, Have You Seen Him? In the Times Union of December 4th, a motorist recalled that on the previous Monday around dusk, the same day Michelle was abducted, he saw a beige car. Again, with that beige car, pulled over on the side of Route 350 near Eddy Road, less than a mile from where her body would be found. The man slowed to offer assistance, believing the car had a flat tire, and said that when he approached the idle vehicle, the guy standing beside it grabbed a young, quote-unquote, chubby girl, stepped in front of her so she was out of view, then moved towards the front of his car, shielding the girl behind him, stepped in front of the license plate as if to block that too from view. The motorist said that the man took a step towards him with his fist raised menacingly, at which point the motorist rolled up his window and drove off. That's not good. Okay, well, you can drive a little ways away, but why don't you stay in the area? Why don't you try and, track him down by your car? Something. Wave down somebody else to help. Make some commotion. The suspect was said to be a slender white male, about 6 feet tall, perhaps a bit more, had clear skin, medium complexion, dark wavy hair, shorter on the sides and the back, but came down to the bridge of his nose in the front. Investigators scoured neighborhoods' criminal databases for a man fitting that description. The total number of investigators on the case was increased to more than 50, 15 of whom were assigned full-time. The day after sketch, this new suspect appeared in the papers. A woman called and told police she had seen a man who looked just like the one in the sketch taking a hamburger to a young girl in a car at Carol's Drive-In restaurant at the Panorama Plaza in Penfield about 4:30 p.m. on the day Michelle vanished. This piques everybody's interest because, if you recall, the medical examiner, said that a cheeseburger had been eaten within an hour and a half of her death. Also important was the location because the distance between the Panorama Plaza to the spot where the Route 350 witness saw a suspicious man with the girl was very minimal. The killer could have taken New York 441 east 10 miles and simply turned right on New York 350 and then driven 2 more miles. December 11th, authorities thought they had finally gotten a big break in the case when the motorist who had approached the vehicle on Route 350 called the sheriff's department early that week to report that he had seen the same man again. And this time he did get a license plate number. The suspect, who resided in Lyons, was in his 20s, unemployed and divorced, had a criminal record, although no sex offenses. And this guy couldn't recall what he'd been doing on the evening of November 26th. But when police searched his home with his permission, they found nothing incriminating. And then finally, records of long-distance phone calls had been made from that man's house at 2:18 p.m. and 3:15 p.m. on that day. The day that Michelle disappeared revealed he could not have been involved in her abduction. He also voluntarily took a polygraph test that he passed and then was eliminated as a suspect. Damn it! January 1974, a detective told the Times Union that although there were still 15 men assigned to the case full-time, the investigation into the rape and murder of Michelle Mu8ders was dying a slow death. Their most promising lead had gone nowhere. Some piece of shit, some real-life monster had gotten away with at least 3 child rape and murders around Rochester, New York. Okay, a lot of info. Now let's pop out of this initial timeline. Look at some of the suspects before jumping into the next series of murders and looking at the man Joseph Nasso, who was convicted for those crimes, a man convicted of killing in California who did, again, have strong ties to the Rochester area.
Good job, soldier. You made it back. Barely.
Okay, so looking at these suspects, some of this is gonna bring us back into aspects of the crimes we just talked about. Let's kick off our suspect discussion by taking a look at dirtbag number 1. What's behind dirtbag number 1 door? Oh, fucking dirtbag. Let's talk about local firefighter Dennis Termini, abusing locals' trust in the generally wonderful and heroic firefighters like a true sociopath is what this guy was doing. On New Year's Day, 1974, less than 5 weeks after the murder of Michelle Mu8ders, 25-year-old Rochester firefighter Dennis Termini sat in somebody else's car, shot himself in the head with a .45 caliber automatic pistol, and good fucking riddance. The reason he killed himself made him prime suspect in the Alphabet murders. Shortly before blowing his brains out, Dennis had tried to abduct a teenage girl at gunpoint as she left her hotel. I almost said shortly after, which would make this story so much weirder, right? Like shortly after blowing his brains out and dying, he abducted 2 girls as a fucking pedo zombie. I'd make this real weird. No, right before he had blown his brains out, he had tried to abduct a teenage girl at gunpoint as she left her hotel. But then he let her go when he couldn't stop her from screaming. He was afraid she was attracting too much attention. And then he lets her go. He flees on foot before someone, were to come and grab him, I guess. But he still didn't call it a day. Instead, he just thought, I guess, who else can I violate? Who else can I give a lifetime of trust issues and nightmares to? Who else can I possibly impregnate with my demon seed? I guess I could go home, just stop. But if I did that, then who would get held hostage or raped today? Ah, man, no, I can't have that happen. I gotta honor the plans that I made. Yeah, he lets one woman go only to immediately brazenly search for another young girl. He grabs a second girl, 18 years old, as she's walking alone through a northeast neighborhood of Rochester, forces her at gunpoint into a garage, and demands that she immediately undress. By the time she gets down to just a bra and panties, the police show up thanks to a neighbor who had called him after seeing him grab this girl. Finally, someone's fucking calling the police in the story. Seeing the flashing lights and hearing the sirens, Termini once again flees on foot. This time he finds a vehicle parked in his driveway, climbs inside, locks the doors. Cernus, I was trying to combine two words. Sergeant Ernest Morph responds to the 911 call regarding Termini grabbing that second girl. Along with patrolman Lindy Johnson, he chases Termini through several backyards, jumping over fences, tracing his footsteps through the newly fallen snow until he finally cornered Termini in that locked car where he took his gun out and pointed at his head. Sergeant Morph called for backup from a portable radio. While they were waiting for backup to arrive, that's when Termini pulled the trigger. Sent a bullet through his right temple, took his own life. And it was soon determined that Termini had been active, very active prior to that day. He was a sexual predator known locally by police as the Garage Rapist, a man who had eluded Rochester police for years. Yet there's so many dirtbags in this story today. There was a string of unsolved rapes involving at least 14 teenagers and young women violated in residential garages that occurred between 1971 and 1973, the same period in which the double initial murders took place, a coincidence not lost on police. And with how chronically underreported rapes are, who knows how many women this guy actually raped. After his suicide, Termini immediately became, of course, prime suspect in the Alphabet rape and murders. He had lived at 159 Box Street, only a 2-minute drive from where Michelle was last seen. Investigators determined that he had also stalked the very same neighborhoods that Carmen and Wanda had lived in. He operated both on foot and by car, was known to have abducted at least one of his many victims and driven her to a secluded location before raping her. However, there were two very important things about Termini's crimes that strayed from the pattern of the double initial murders. His 14 known victims, all of them were older. All of them, were much older than those girls, and all of them had been left alive after they'd been raped. Still, a lot of circumstantial evidence points at Termini. Again, he'd been in the neighborhoods, when they disappeared. Also, his vehicle matched the description of the one seen barreling around the corner at the intersection of Ackerman Street and Webster Avenue, right down to the color, that beige, right down to that distinctive dent described by witnesses. There was also a map found in his car that highlighted Wayne County, which is where Michelle's body was found. And there was a firefighter uniform in the truck, which could fit that theory that the girls weren't forced in somewhere. They were, that somebody who had gained their trust had abducted them. Kids tend to trust firefighters. Decades later, armed with this information and more, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department obtained a search warrant to exhume his body for the purpose of searching his gravesite, casket, and remains for obtaining a DNA sample to compare to evidence found at the double initial crime scenes. On January 4th, 2007, his body was disinterred from the frozen soil, taken to the medical examiner's office for recovery of tissue and bone samples. And then 7 weeks later, results of the DNA testing came back, indicating that Termini was not the rapist slayer of at least Wanda Valakovich. He is still a suspect in the two other murders because while authorities had taken semen from Wanda's crime scene to compare with his DNA, the semen collected at the scenes of Michelle and Carmen's death, unfortunately, are no longer available. They were either lost over the years or the initial samples deteriorated. Crime reports do not specify. So unless someone else is convicted of those murders, he will remain a suspect. Now let's talk about dirtbag number 2. Dirtbag number 2 is old Uncle Stepdad. Uncle Stepdad Miguel. Of course it is. Uncle Stepdad's always suspects on some level. Slightly less suspicious than Grandpa Dad's or Uncle Cousins. An acquaintance of Miguel told investigators that Uncle Stepdad showed up at his apartment shortly after billboards had been put up regarding Carmen's disappearance and told him that, quote, he needed to get out of the country quick. Ding, 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 ding. That's a bit of a red flag. That's a wee bit suspicious. Miguel was brought in for questioning regarding the rape and murder, of Carmen Colon on March 28, 1972, less than 4 months after Carmen was assaulted and killed. And then a few days later, he takes off to Puerto Rico. Investigators then follow him, and Uncle Stepdad literally hides in the jungle for the entire 6 days. Investigators look for him in Puerto Rico. That's very suspicious to me. Yeah. I'm sorry. And I wrote that. I had to have written that down wrong in my notes. A few days after the actual everything gets reported, then he takes off. He's brought in for questioning months later, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, because the way I put it in my notes here did not make any sense. No, they want to bring him initially. He flees. Then they get him months later. Rochester detectives have to trick him to bring him in. Finally. They have to, because they go to Puerto Rico. No, they can't find him there, and they spread a rumor through some local papers out there that say that they have brought in his mother for questioning, and they're going to detain her until he comes in himself, which they can't do. That's illegal. But he falls for it, and he flies back to Rochester, like, please let my mom go. And then they're like, gotcha, dummy. Uncle Stepdad's never known for being the sharpest knives in the drawer. Uncle Stepdad maintains his innocence throughout the 6-hour interrogation, manages to pass a lie detector test, taken to state police headquarters in the central New York town of, this is a tough one, Canandaigua, and investigators, even though lie detectors have since proven to be faulty, they had no choice but to release him. They released him despite a witness describing a vehicle matching Miguel's backing up to Carmen on the side of the road. Remember the freeway that day that she was kidnapped and killed? And they had to release him despite the fact that he had also, this is so suspicious, thoroughly cleaned his car inside and out, including the trunk, right before investigators searched it. You know how many times I have thoroughly cleaned the trunk of any car I've ever owned? Fucking zero. You know why? It's trunk. Because I'm not going to put any people in there. So it doesn't need to be that clean. I've kind of lightly, ran a vacuum over it here and there when I've, had something like got some dirt or something back there. But thoroughly clean the trunk right after this when you're a suspect. Ding, ding, ding. Guilty. This dude looks guilty as hell, man. Especially when you consider the possibility that this murder doesn't have to be related to either of the two other Alphabet murders. DNA evidence hasn't definitively linked all three killings. He could have killed his stepdad or his stepdaughter, / niece, Carmen, and someone else could have killed the other two girls. Some investigators also believe there is a deep-seated secret in the Cologne family regarding Uncle Stepdad and his involvement in Carmen's life and death. There's a suspicion that he may have molested her for a while before she died. They say that they've had a lot of trouble getting straight answers out of a lot of his family members over the years. Complicating Miguel even further as a suspect is his death in 1991. This is what makes me feel even that much more comfortable about making fun of this piece of shit. On February 17, 1991, nearly 25 years after Carmen is killed, Miguel shoots himself to death in a house on Radio Street after assaulting Carmen's mother, Giannina, and Giannina's brother, Juan Melendez, with the same gun during a domestic dispute. When police arrived, Miguel demanded that he be shot. He wanted that, suicide by cop situation. They don't give in to those demands, then he shoots himself, just right then and there, taking a lot of unanswered questions to the grave with him. And a lot of investigators, including one of the lead investigators, Nick DeRosa, in Carmen's disappearance and murder, are certain that Miguel killed Carmen. Sadly, a lot of the crucial physical evidence collected at the scene of Carmen's murder, as well as subsequent to, have been lost or destroyed over the years, which makes all this stuff, that much more complicated to investigate now. And like I said earlier, there are only semen samples from Wanda's case and not the other two now. Okay, another suspect, another primary suspect in the Carmen Cologne case is dirtbag number 3, James Barber. Another Monroe County Sheriff investigator, Sergeant Robert Russello, found a connection when he learned that Barber had already been arrested for molesting a young girl in the past and was, at the time of Carmen's murder, wanted for assaulting and sodomizing a 15-year-old girl in Ohio. And this piece of shit happened to be in the Bull's Head neighborhood where he had social ties when she was abducted and killed. He was working in the area, and this is really suspicious to me. He had penciled in his hours on his time card the day Carmen disappeared, rather than letting the machine punch the information like it normally did. It's weird to have that aberration on the day she goes missing, especially when the person who has this aberration is somebody who has committed sex crimes on youths before. Even more suspiciously, he left his job without notice right after her body was found. And then apparently left the Rochester area entirely. Left it so quickly that investigators weren't able to get him in for questioning. Didn't even take his belongings with him when he left. Left town that fast. And I guess there wasn't quite enough evidence to dictate, having him arrested and extradited and brought back from another state. So he was never questioned about the Alphabet murders. So many think that he did it. Many think that James Barber could have killed all 3 girls. But Uncle Stepdad, Fire Marshal Rapey, Sodomy Barber aren't the only 3 complete creeps to be strong suspects in the killings of these 3 innocent young girls. And this suspect list is the most disturbing part of this whole thing to me. Just how many dirtbags are in the story. So much crime in the suck. Dirtbag number 4 is the fucking dirtiest of the dirtbags we've discussed now. Just dirt on dirt on dirt. This is one half of the Hillside Stranglers, convicted serial rapist and killer Kenneth Bianchi, who I mentioned earlier in the show. Kenneth Alessio Bianchi was born to a young alcoholic single mother prostitute in Rochester on May 22nd, 1951. So, By Rochester standards, he is born into a stable, upper-middle-class household. As an infant, he should have been drowned. I think we can all agree on that now. Unfortunately, no one was brave enough at the time to do what was clearly necessary. Instead, sadly, he was raised to adulthood. He was adopted by Francis and Nicholas Bianchi, raised in Rochester, attended Holy Family Catholic School, and then his adoptive mother divulged the fact that his real mother had been a prostitute to him at some point early in his adolescence, and he didn't take it well. This disclosure may have been a defining moment in his life. He grappled with his early impression of females, hating his mom, for what she had been, what she had done with her life, and apparently didn't get along with his adoptive mom that well, and hated her. Also hated her for telling him about his original mom. His father, Francis, would later reveal that Ken had a terrible temper as a child and was a compulsive liar to boot. So I told you, should have drowned him. But some people are weirdly lacking in conviction about stuff like that. I think in the politically correct kind of snowflakey world we live in, a lot of people are just weird about drowning babies. They're just like, I don't know, but what if it's not a bad baby? I'm like, why take a chance? And I'm kidding, of course. Don't fucking drown any babies. I probably took that a little farther than I should have. Right after graduating from Gates Chili High School in June 1970, Bianchi gets married, but then his young wife walks out on him without explanation 8 months later, seeking an annulment. This may have added to his loathing of women. It happened shortly before Carmen Colon was abducted and murdered. Based on who this guy became later, maybe she left him because he was a complete fucking psychotic, sexually deviant creep. I feel like a lot of times crime authors try to point at moments like this as the reason people become murderous or rapey later on. Like they get rejected by an early lover and they take out the rage they feel because of this rejection out on other women. That's the narrative strongly associated, with Ted Bundy and other infamous killers. But what if these early women just happened to see these creeps for who they already were? Like that, they were going to do that either way. And they were just smart enough to get out before they became a victim. Like what if they just sensed it, like a gazelle senses a lion nearby, and they just bolted. Bianchi attended Monroe Community College after his young bride flees for her life, takes courses in psychology and police science, but drops out after one semester, then applies for a job at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office and gets rejected. Sorry, buddy. We're actually trying to catch and lock up weird, creepy woman haters, not hiring them. We're not hiring them right now, so best of luck. Bianchi was repeatedly rebuffed when he applied for police work several times in Rochester. Finally settles for the only thing he could get with limited educational background in police work, a job as a security guard in a local jewelry store. That's when he began to steal jewelry and change his jobs now repeatedly to avoid being accused of petty theft. About this same time, Bianchi wrote to a lady friend that he had killed someone. She thought he was making it up, trying to, quote, sound like a tough guy to impress her. That's a weird thing to assume. So you didn't find it alarming that he told you he had killed someone? No, not at all. Guys tell me they've killed people all the time. Or, like they've raped somebody or abducted somebody or that they've sexually tortured somebody. Sometimes they'll say that they're going to torture or rape or kill me if I'm not, nicer to them and won't go on, dates. And it doesn't even bother me. I try and take it all as a compliment. I think they're just flirting. They're just trying to be sexy. My mom always said that when a man tells you he's killed somebody or that he's willing to kill you, that's when you know he loves you. A few jobs Bianchi held while still in Rochester in the early 1970s make him suspicious when it comes to the alphabet murders. The first job was as a soda jerk. Autopsies on all three victims of double initial murders, revealed they had eaten shortly before their deaths. The other job was an ambulance driver. Right? Carmen Michelle Wanda would be more likely to trust an ambulance driver probably than some just other kind of random stranger and go somewhere with them. Also, Bianchi had no criminal record at the time of their abduction, so he was flying under the radar of local law enforcement when the investigations began. And then in late 1975, roughly 2 years after the alphabet murders, the 26-year-old Bianchi packs up, leaves Rochester, heads for Los Angeles in his large, used two-tone Cadillac that was dark on the bottom, white on top. There was that kind of color difference did come up when with one of the witnesses when they were talking about the car that Carmen was seen running from. And then once Bianchi got to California, he became known as one of the Hillside Stranglers when he and his cousin, Angelo Buono, kidnapped, raped, tortured, and murdered 10 women and girls between the ages of 12 and 28. So it's not like he wasn't, it's not like he was above going after kids. And that all happened between October 1977 and February 1978. And then he fled to Washington State, committed 2 additional rape and murders of Western Washington University students up around Bellingham, January 1979, before getting caught. His modus operandi was to use a fake badge right, to lure women into his car, making them think he was an undercover police officer, and he'd sexually torture women before strangling them and dumping their bodies. I'll save additional details for a future true crime suck on the Hillside Stranglers, if there's enough interest in that topic. Wink, wink, space lizards. Vote it up. Wanda, Carmen, and Michelle were also raped, strangled. Of course, their bodies were dumped, so a lot of similarities in the crime. And someone pretending to be an officer, again, could have lured them into their vehicle. Pretty disturbing, man. Pretty disturbing. Again, just how many dirtbags we're meeting surrounding these murders. And we're still not done. Got one more dirtbag to meet, a dirtbag just as filthy as Kenneth Bianchi. And we'll hop back into one more small little timeline of his victims who also share the same pattern of double initials, right after a word from today's final sponsor. Today's Timesuck is brought to you by the Rochester, New York Board of Tourism. Hey, Meat Sacks, today's Rochester has a lot more going on than just murder and rape. In fact, I want you to know that Rochester's new official city slogan is, "Come to Rochester. You're probably not even going to get raped or murdered. We're different now." There's beautiful Lake Ontario. For starters, it's one of the Great Lakes, so you know it's great. It's in the name. And you can even sometimes swim in it. You can hop in at Durand Eastman Beach. You can jump in the water at Charlotte Beach, at Ontario Beach Park, but don't do that right now, because right now the water is extremely toxic. You got to check with city officials before you swim, because both beaches are almost always closed due to either horrible weather or extremely, extremely harmful bacteria in the water, and you can die from those infections. But who cares? Who cares? Even forget about it. Hey, there's so much more to Rochester, New York. You can also visit the headquarters of Wegmans, and that's a pretty nice grocery store. There's a regional chain of grocery stores, and the headquarters is in Rochester. That's not nothing, And listen, and hey, from what I can tell, almost no one gets raped or killed at a Wegmans grocery store. Very low odds. And these are just a few examples of really fun things to do in Rochester. So come to Rochester, but not now. Please don't visit between like October and May, when it is super dark and shitty and just desolate and super depressing, and there's so much crime, and it's just kind of scary and not fun. But anyway, Rochester, not as rapey as it used to be. And that, of course, is not today's sponsor. God, I hope I get some angry emails from Rochester, though. Today's Timesuck is brought to you by Robinhood. Oh, man. Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, cryptos. That's right. And cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. And you can do it all commission-free. Even if you are a stock market newcomer, you can invest for the first time with true confidence with Robinhood. They got a great app. With other brokerages, you get charged for up to like $10 a trade. Robinhood doesn't charge commission fees, like at all. Zero commission fees, which means you can trade stocks and keep all of your profits. That's what I do. I love no fees. No fees, as it turns out with my limited math skills, does appear to be mathematically better than other amounts of fees. True story. Fact check it. And with the clear design, easy to understand charts and market data, Robinhood lets you place a trade on your smartphone in just 4 taps. 4 taps! Plus, you can discover new stocks, track favorite companies with a personalized news feed. I love how easy this thing is to use. I like how, when I open the app, first thing I see is a total value of my stock portfolio. Then I see it update in real time. With one additional tap, I know how much buying power I have if I want to keep all my investments but buy a few more. It's very well designed, easy to link with an account to transfer funds, crisp colors, easy to read fonts, very intuitive and straightforward. And check this out, Robinhood is giving Timesuckers a free stock. You can get a stock from Apple, Ford, Sprint, build up that portfolio. Sign up at timesuck.robinhood.com. That's timesuck.robinhood.com. Link in the episode description. Also, you can just push the button on the Timesuck app. Yeah. And now, time for one last little Timesuck timeline to take a quick look at some California killings that may be related to the alphabet murders of upstate New York, around the area of Rochester, which again is a little bit better than how horrible it was before.
Strap on those boots, soldier. We're marching down a Timesuck timeline.
January 10th, 1977. Police in Fairfax, California receive an anonymous call. The tipster says they've just stumbled across a body. Officers find the body of 18-year-old Roxine Ragesh, a petite freckled redhead buried face down in some desert brush. She was found wearing pantyhose inside out. Another pair of pantyhose was around her neck. Third pair was in her mouth. Fourth pair wrapped around her mouth. Her feet were bound, and she had been strangled. That's the first. There's those RR double initials. They're back. And then across San Pablo Bay, August 13th, 1978, a California Highway Patrol officer patrolling the remote Carquinez, scenic highway near Crockett found the decomposing corpse of 22-year-old Carmen Colon on a pile of garbage below a turnout. How crazy is that? The same name, Carmen Colon. The body was found just 30 miles from where Roxane's body was found, naked, again, strangled again. So that's CC. So we got two of these. 30 on September 15th, 1993, jumping way ahead. 38-year-old waitress and on and off again, prostitute Pamela Parsons, PP, goes missing. On September 19th, just 4 days later, a body is found by two men walking their dogs off of Simpson D'Antoni Road in Linden, California. It was the body of Parsons. One of the dog walkers was Tony Luis, who later recalled in court that he'd been walking his dog when he noticed another man walking his dog who looked shook up. He asked him, "What's the matter, fella?" The guy says, "My dog just found a dead person over there in the willows." He continued, "I walked over there and she was laying on her back, arms crossed in front of her." And that was the body of Pamela. It was soon determined that Parsons had also been strangled to death. The killing was not connected with the first two because it had been found so many years later and over 120 miles away. August of 1994, 31-year-old Marysville resident Tracy Tafoya, mother of 5 young children, vanishes. Tracy Tafoya, TT. She was last seen alive on August 5th. It's believed that she was murdered on August 6th. Tracy had been struggling with addiction, was occasionally working the streets as a prostitute as well. All 4 of these victims had been prostitutes, at least off and on. Paperboy found her body in a drainage ditch beside an unkept cemetery on the side of Highway 70 near Marysville Cemetery on August 14th. She'd also been strangled. And there's someone who just keeps, I've been hearing them kind of come into the building a little bit here and there, just faintly, and they just can't take hearing about all these vulnerable women, these women, working the streets, being harmed. Chicken Joe, come on in here. I know you want to talk. Get in here. Bye, playboy. Bye. One man saying they can plug working girls from the street. Lies don't matter because they're a sexy piece of meat. When we gonna suck on a killer when he chokes out Johns? Someone hunt the bucks, not just does and fawns. Time someone put down a lion, not the lamb. I'd like to get that lion back in my pimp hand. Sex and violence don't make no sense. Sex supposed to clear your head, not make the mind more tense. You feel me? You dig? You hear my 2 cents? Bye, playboy. Bye. Chicken Joe. For those of you who haven't heard of him before, maybe you're new listener. Maybe some of you have trouble understanding the knowledge dropped from time to time by our strange early 1970s Houston area pimp. Chicken Joe just said that he's sick of hearing about men killing prostitutes, and he would like to hear about a killer who goes after the men who hire prostitutes instead. He'd understand also the association between sex and violence, right? Sex in theory should relax you, not infuriate you. He's an unexpected social justice warrior. That Chicken Joe. Who would have guessed? So we got Roxane, Carmen Colon, Pamela Parsons, Tracy Tafoya, 4 more dead females, 4 more sets of double initials, and then a killer was captured with strong ties to Buffalo, New York, site of course, the initial alphabet murders. Let's jump way ahead again to April 11th, 2011. 77-year-old Joseph Nasso is arrested in Black Springs, Nevada, a suburb of Reno, after a home inspection related to a recent theft arrest that violated his probation turns up some super disturbing shit. Joe Nasso, known as Crazy Joe to anybody who really knew him at all, had a long history of running with the law. He had bounced around in San Francisco, Yuba City, Sacramento, Oakland, El Cerrito during the 90s, racking up numerous convictions, mostly for shoplifting and petty theft. He'd been caught shoplifting 30 pairs of women's underpants from an Oakland department store, 30 pairs of panties, taken from a store in 1995. He'd been arrested for a probation violation and spent a year in prison prior to August 11th, like he just got out of prison. He lived in Black Springs with his legally incapacitated son who suffered from schizophrenia, whom he maintained custodial guardianship of. Nasso was born in Rochester, New York, January 7th, 1934. He'd met his first wife, Judith, there in the early 1950s, and they were married for 18 years. After their divorce, even though he took off to California, he continued to visit his ex-wife and other family in the Rochester area in the 70s. while he was mainly working in the Bay Area as a freelance photographer. And now let's talk about why he gets arrested for the murders of the California double initial murder victims. So on August 11th, this is how he gets arrested. 2011, Reno police officer Wesley Jackson, assigned to check on Nasso, stopped at his home, a modest white bungalow in a dead-end street cracked by the Nevada desert. Even without a warrant, Jackson was free to rifle through the house on the outer reaches of Reno at any time he chose. Jackson went through the routine of saying he was there to do a search under the terms of Nasso's probation for theft from a grocery store. And then when the Officer Jackson stepped into Nasso's home, one of the first things he notices is a pair of mannequin legs turned upside down that had been fitted with nylon stockings. Nothing weird, nothing creepy, nothing blatant serial killery, just a mannequin's legs. Not even a whole mannequin, just mannequin's legs wearing some thigh-high stockings, probably a garter belt. Nasso told the officer that he had stockings on the doll because he wore women's nylon stockings because he had a skin condition on his leg. And so it was handy to kind of keep them on the doll's legs so he could just take them up and have them on his legs. But then the officer notices that he's not wearing nylons. He's wearing socks. That's a weird thing to lie about. So a search of Nasso's bedroom turns up piles of pictures, disturbing pictures of naked women dressed only in stockings and high heels, doing in some creepy situations. Initially the pictures he first saw were just naked pictures, and I guess in that situation, whatever, he's old. He doesn't know how the internet works. He can't find porn there. Nothing too inherently disturbing, I guess. Other than one would hope if he was your 77-year-old grandpa, you'd hope he'd do a better job of hiding his jerk-off stash. What was very, very creepy about these pictures, though, once he started digging through them, was that some of these women looked unconscious. Some of them looked dead. After being arrested, Nasso would later say the photos were taken at a time when, quote, men were women, that's a very different quote. Men were men and women were women. Men were men and women were women. It's just a weird thing to say. And he says this to defend these pictures of unconscious and dead-looking women. What? Like, I don't even, how do you think in your head that those words coming out of your mouth make sense at any level? Like, how do you think that's not a super creepy fucking thing to say? If a police officer's like, hey, why do you have so many pictures of naked women who look like they're dead? Okay, young fella, hold on. Those pictures were taken, back when the men were men and the women were women. But listen, back in my day, women knew how to be dead. Back in the good old days, men knew how to take pictures of naked women, and women knew how to be naked and dead. What the fuck? Classic Crazy Joe. That's just Crazy Joe being crazy. And then things get even creepier. In the midst of a pile of naked photos laid a single sheet of paper with a handwritten list of numbers up to 10. Next to each number was the word girl or lady in a location, perhaps location of a body. Nasso told Officer Jackson, these are just old girlfriends. Those are just old girlfriends. Those are just some models from some previous photo shoots. And then hundreds more pictures of naked women, are found, aged 20 to 80, laying about what he called his art studio. Another group of photos is found in the living room. Some of the women appear to be posed willingly. Some appear to be, again, knocked out or worse. Some are bound up with cords. One picture showed a man whose face was turned away from the camera, appearing to have sex with an unconscious woman. Officer Jackson spotted boxes of bullets near a dresser, and that was enough to arrest Nasso for a breach of probation. And then he continued to search for what he assumed was a weapon hidden somewhere in the house. Days later, the police do find a stash of guns. And then they start really picking his whole house apart. One of them finds this aluminum clipboard on the dining room table under a bunch of piles of shit. Leafs through it, increasingly shocked. The entries on this clipboard amount to a journal of terror. One of the entries said, "Girl in North Buffalo Woods. She was real pretty. Front seat of my car. Had to knock her out first. 1958. Another recorded about the same time said, "Salina, Kansas girl. I followed and met at Fred Astaire dance studio. She was gorgeous. Great legs and nylons, heels. Had to rape her in my car on a cold wintry night. Snowstorm." What a piece of shit. In the had to. Page after page of what police would come to call the rape diary or rape journal. There's just page after page filled with similar records of his assaults on women. This has become a central part of the case against him. But there was more. The search turns up a separate stash of notebooks written years later. If anything, these are even more horrific with more graphic descriptions of bondage, torture, murder. A lot of these haven't been totally released to the public. Some were apparently accounts of past crimes. Others read more as instruction manuals for the prolonged deaths of individually named women yet to be captured. His house held another secret. At one end was a room with a bolt on the door that could only be opened from the outside. In the middle of the door was a small flap, kind of like you'd find on a prison cell where people could, slide food in and out. The window was the only window in the house that had been fitted with metal bars, so kind of echoes of the toy box killer here. And it's the rape journal that would lead investigators to the deaths and help them, convict him in the deaths of Roxane, Ragesh, Carmen Cologne, Pamela Parsons, and Tracy Tafoya. On August 20th, 2013, Nassau would be convicted by a Marin County jury of these 4 murders and sentenced to death. It's very likely he killed at least 6 other women. The judge, during his sentencing, called him an evil and disturbed man and said the evidence proved that he inflicted abhorrent and repugnant levels of suffering and cruelty on victims and humiliated them even more by meticulously documenting the crimes in his diaries and photographs. The judge also added, "You being in this world has made this world a worse place." Well said. Another one should have put him down. Should have looked at him hard as a baby. I am kidding. I'm going to stop with that because I don't want one fucking lunatic to be like, I get it. I get what he's trying to say. My kid's been looking at me weird. I got to stop this now. No, don't do that. Don't drown babies. NASA insisted that the prosecution had not proven its case and that the DNA evidence was planted, that he was the victim of media bias. Also said, like the true narcissistic sociopath he is, this was like a hate crime against me. And then he flipped off the courtroom before being led away. Now let's bounce out of this timeline and talk about some creepy ass shit that this guy said during his trial.
Good job, soldier. You made it back. Barely.
Crazy Joe would represent himself at his trial like a crazy person does. And when you read about his opening defense, you quickly realize, of course, this is not a good plan. He opens it saying, "This case is about me, my life. I am not the monster that killed these women. I don't do that. I date, I dance, but I don't kill people." What a weird, why does he throw dance in there? I don't kill. Do I date? Of course I do. I'm a ladies' man. I'm a Don Juan, if you will. By the way, he looks like an older, sleazier, creepier, and somehow even more unattractive version of former porn star Ron Jeremy, who I've seen him in person a few times. And whoa, Ron Jeremy is creepy looking dude. Like and this dude looks creepier than him. He says, "Why he say I date, I dance, I don't kill people. Do I kill? No, but do I dance? You bet your sweet ass I dance. I dance like no one's watching." And it's important that no one's watching because I kill a lot of people that I dance with. Hold on. That's not what let me look at my notes again. Sorry about that. No, Nassau felt he could represent himself because he had taken, I'm not making this up, he felt he could represent himself because he had taken one course in a business law class in college decades earlier and, quote, did well. What a fucking moron. I love it when people do stuff like this. When they just learn a little bit about something and then suddenly think they're an expert. I'm not going to pay some doctor, thousands and thousands of dollars, some asshole just because you went to school for almost 10 years. Listen, I went to school too. I got a B+ biology class sophomore year, high school, okay? I'll figure out how to treat my own cancer, thanks. Probably just need to take more vitamin C. You ain't taking my money. Nassau referred to the prosecution's opening statements as character assassination, saying, "I want to tell you about myself, who I really am." The prosecution doesn't even have circumstantial evidence. He says in regard to the 4 women being prostitutes, he says, "I have no issue with prostitutes. I have a high regard for prostitutes. There may be prostitutes in this courtroom." I love it. His defense just keeps getting better. I love prostitutes. Look, a lot of women get paid for sex. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm assuming several of you here get paid for sex. I'm assuming several jury members are giving blowjobs on the side for money in cheap hotel rooms. Several of you do have that look about you, and I think I'm fine with that. Really, as soon as this sham of a trial is over, I'm going to throw the judge $20 for a blowy, back behind the parking lot. It's okay. No judgment. No judgment. Nassau also claimed that the DNA conclusively linked him to DNA found on Roger's pantyhose was not his. He said that the DNA found there, even though they said it was his, it's not his. He said that's just a theory that it's his DNA. Listen, you guys. Listen. This is important. I took a business law class in college in 1957. Was my DNA found on the crime scene? Were my fingerprints left all over and around the victims? Is there closed-circuit camera footage of me killing the victim? Is there several eyewitnesses? Is there video of me signing a courtroom confession saying I did all of this? I mean, yeah, those are some theories. Those are some theories. There's also the theory that I just walk on out of here and get back to putting nylons on mannequin legs. You know, maybe that's the right thing to do if you think about it. Nassau only admitted to knowing Pamela Parsons, who modeled for him once, saying, "I'm sorry about her demise, but I didn't do it." And then he says he picked her up on the side of the road, took her to his house, and said that she offered sex, but he didn't take her up on that. He just took glamour pictures. Listen, did she want to do me? Yeah, of course she did. Look at me. If I could split myself into two people, I wouldn't get anything done because I'd constantly be fucking myself. Because how could I not, you know? If like one half of me was some hot broad, some sex pot dame, I'd be just doing me nonstop. You know? There are laws in nature. Just like a lion feels compelled to kill a gazelle, all women feel compelled to bone the Nassau. But being the gentleman I am, being the dancer, having the dancer's heart that I do, you know, I just said, listen, lady, I'm not here to bone you. I'm not here to give you the Nassau special. I'm not here to take you to carnal heaven. Okay? I just want to take some classy ass pictures of you looking scared while you're naked. Like a dancer would do. He said that she was alive when she came in and alive when she left. He also admitted to 2 sexual incidents. One in 1958 when he was charged with second-degree assault and sentenced to probation. Another in 1961 where the charges were dropped due to lack of evidence. He said these are the only 2 bad dates he'd ever had. You win some, you lose some. Some women know how to enjoy a nice evening out on a date. Some women don't like being raped. And look, I don't let it get to me. I just dance. I just dance all that negativity away. You don't want to ride on the Nassau train. I'll just dance it off. I'll just dance it off. Do you like rape? No? Okay, that's okay. I'll just dance away. Hey, how do you like getting choked? You don't care for it? Okay. I'm just gonna, dance. I'm just gonna shuffle on back. I'm just gonna foxtrot back. Do you like being choked in a ditch? Oh, you don't care for it? That's okay. I'm just gonna poke way over. Fucking crazy motherfucker. He said that what the prosecution called his rape journal was not proof of any crime. Listen to this guy. He says when regarding the journal entries where he specifically uses the word rape, where he specifically says he raped this person, raped that person, he goes, this is not me this time. This is one of his quotes. He says, that's the way I talk. I have brain sex. When I say I picked up a nice broad and raped her, it has nothing to do with forcible rape. I've never had any complaints with any of my dates, except for the 2. Jesus! No one talks like that except for rapists. Hey, man, how was your day last night? Not bad. I went out to Pache, had a good steak, couple glasses of wine. And that's when I took her back to my place and raped her. You know, she was into it. She consented. She was like, yeah, just go ahead and rape me. She was a nice broad. Nassau closed out his opening by spending 3 hours talking about his passion and talent for photography. 3 hours talking about how good he was at being a photographer. I'm surprised he didn't kill a few of the jurors that day by pushing them towards suicide with his crazy-ass opening statement. Police ended up seizing roughly 5,000 disturbing photos, by the way. None of them, though, featured pictures of the girls from Rochester, the Alphabet Murder girls. No rape journal entries matched specifically the murder of those girls. The closest was that one I said earlier, a girl in North Buffalo Woods. She was real pretty, had to knock her out first. But that was back in the 50s, way before the early 70s. And also DNA evidence cleared him as a suspect in the Rochester murders, just like it cleared that rapey firefighter. Damn it, would have been nice to have some closure on these killings. And then Nassau remains on death row today. And like I said earlier, with his age and with California's current kind of moratorium on the death penalty, he's probably going to die of natural causes, which is a bummer. Okay. So what disturbed me the most about today's tale was the number of suspects. So many dirtbags surrounding these killings. It made me think, how many dirtbags are out there? Like, what are the stats? Let's look at some of these numbers, terrifying numbers. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, a large nonprofit dedicated to providing information and tools to prevent and respond to sexual violence, Here are these stats. 1 in 5 women, 1 in 71 men will be raped at some point during their lifetime. These are U.S. stats, United States stats. 91% of victims of rape and sexual assault are female, 9% are male. In 8 out of 10 cases of rape, the victim knew the perpetrator. 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before they turn 18. 30% of women who have been raped were raped between the ages of 11 and 17. More than 1/3 of women who report being raped before age 18 are again raped as adults. 96% of people who sexually abuse children are male. 76.8% of people who sexually abuse children are adults. Man, no sympathy. A dude and a grown-ass man doing that to kids, man, fuck you. Only 12% of child sexual abuse is ever reported to authorities. 34% of people who sexually abuse a child are family members of the child. Rape is the most underreported violent crime. 63% of sexual assaults are not reported to police. The prevalence of false reporting is low, between 2% and 10%. For example, a study of 8 U.S. communities, which included 2,059 cases of sexual assault, found only a 7.1% rate of false reports. Here's some more stats from a different organization, RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. Since 1998, it's estimated that over 17,700,000 women have been raped in the U.S. alone. And then sadly, 99% of perpetrators walk free. And remember with this stat, that's based largely on how many of the crimes are estimated to be not reported. So it's estimated that 99% of people who rape, not 99% of people who are charged with rape, but that 99% of people who believe to have raped somebody end up just walking free. 13% of female rape survivors will attempt suicide. All these numbers make you wonder how many rapists are out there. That's what they make me wonder. How many rapists are out there walking around? Some studies I found suggest that between 1 in 7 and 1 in 16 U.S. men have raped at least one person. That's including, of course, acquaintance rape, all forms of rape, which is really only one form of rape. That's somewhere between 6.5 and almost 15%. And look, other studies will reveal different results. I'm sure maybe the real numbers are higher or lower or whatever. I just know that an alarming number of women I have dated, who I have known personally, have confided in me over my adult life that they have been raped. One was raped as a child when she was kidnapped and raped by a stranger in a park. Others raped by strangers as well. Numerous accounts, these are all told to me, of acquaintance rape. What the fuck? It's such an avoidable crime. Don't put your dick where it's not wanted. How hard is that to understand? It's not. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Suck. Just jerk off. Just jerk off, you rapey, creepy fuck. Jerk off, reevaluate your life if you're thinking about rape. And if you're not sure, you just don't put it in. And don't act, I hate that argument of like, oh, things got heated, they just felt like you couldn't stop. That bullshit. Things never get so heavy you just can't stop. If you think you truly can't control yourself, when things get sexually heated, you literally can't stop. Well, congratulations. That's how a rapist thinks. You're a rapist. Look in the mirror. Deal with that, you scumbag. You can stop. Blue balls, that's not the worst thing in the world, right? It actually just makes you come that much harder next time around. Learn some dick control. Violence against women, man. Sexual violence against women, young girls, disgustingly common. And I know men and boys get raped too, but this suck is not about that. If you're someone who hurts kids, sexually hurts kids, man, throw yourself off a fucking cliff. You suffer from a disease that can't be cured. It destroys other people's lives. I feel bad that you got some, but if you're never going to be able to control yourself, I don't know, just throw yourself off of something high, or at least move away from kids. Don't go to functions where kids are present. Leave places where kids show up. Just stay the fuck away from kids. Stay away from me. I have no use from you. The Timesuck community is welcoming, to an extremely diverse group of people, but not child predators. Like whoever killed those poor alphabet murder girls. You'll never be welcome in any place I have anything to do with. Yeah, my tolerance has limits, man. Tolerance should have limits. It's time for top 5 takeaways.
Timesuck top 5 takeaways.
Number 1, between November 16th, 1971, April 2nd, 1973, 3 young girls were raped and strangled in the area around Rochester, New York. Be sure and visit Rochester. It's way less. There's way less of that going on now up here. Carmen Colon, Michelle Mayanza, Wanda Vakovich. These killings are also known as the double initial murders. Lots of suspects. No one's been caught. Number 2, between 1977 and 1994, 4 additional victims with matched initials are killed. This time in California. This time all adults. Roxine Ragish, Carmen Colon, Pamela Parsons, Tracy Tafoya, Joseph, Crazy Joe Nasso convicted in all those killings. Number 3, there are several suspects in the original Alphabet killings, one of them being convicted serial killer Kenneth Bianchi, one of the infamous Hillside Stranglers, when he and his cousin, Angelo Buono, kidnapped, raped, tortured, murdered 10 women and girls between the ages of 12 and 28 between October 1977, February 78. And then he fled to Washington State, committed 2 additional rape and murders before finally getting caught. And then, he lived and worked in the Rochester area during the time of the initial murders and bounced to California. Number 4, according to a variety of statistics, roughly 1 in 5 women will be raped in the United States at some point during their lifetime. No means no, motherfucker. Control yourself. Learn a little bit of here, I'll recommend this. It's just a dick slap technique. If you're getting too worked up, you slap the head of your dick. I'm not even joking. You don't want to like punch it, to like break something, but give it a nice whop. It's not going to really hurt anything. It's going to be painful enough to completely distract you from any and all sexuality. You can use it, hopefully, as a I'm not going to rape technique. Hopefully use it as like, I don't want to come so fast technique. But you can also use it, to not be rapey. And maybe I thought of that. Maybe it was told to me by a special guest today. Bob, Playboy. Number 5, new info. While Joseph Nasso was convicted of 4 double initial killings, there was enough evidence in 2 other murders to allow prosecutor deputy district attorney Dory Ahana to bring up these other killings at his sentencing hearing. So he wasn't convicted. There's misleading information on the internet. Some places like Wikipedia say he was convicted of these other. He was not. He was convicted of 4, but there are 2 other murders that were brought up. One was Sarah Dillon, a Bob Dylan groupie, last seen on her way to a Dylan concert at the Warfield Theater in San Francisco in May 1992. She was born Renee Shapiro, but got so into Dylan, she changed her name to the name of his former wife. And investigators found Shapiro's driver's license and passport in Nasso's safety deposit box, along with newspaper obituaries of 2 other victims of his. So that's obviously very suspicious. Also, the body of Shariah Patton, 56, washed ashore near the Naval Net Depot in Tiburon, California in 1981. At the time of her death, she was in the Bay Area looking for work, and Nasso managed the apartment where she lived. He also took photos of her. The photos of her were found in his treasure trove of creepy photos. And he was also considered the prime suspect in her murder by police way back in 1991, but there just wasn't enough evidence to charge him, with her death. Also, I just thought this was added to the creepiness of this dude. At his sentencing, Nasso's ex-wife testified that she believes she was sexually assaulted by 2 men in a hotel room after Nasso basically roofied her in a San Francisco nightclub in the summer of 1976. Which was when the first of these killings, just before the first of these killings happened, which I think is significant. Totally blacked out, found myself in a different place. I believe I was drugged, she said. She said she was depressed at the time and had 2 drinks at the nightclub. Next thing she knew, 2 men who were wearing clothing were lying on top of her in her bed in a hotel. She felt strongly that she had just been sexually assaulted, and she said that her husband was sitting by the bed watching her very intensely. 2 men then ran away when she woke up, and she said, I was fuzzy and confused. I believe they were having sex with me. She confronted Nasso when they got home, and he said he thought it would cheer me up, but it didn't. Is he a psychotic sexual sadist or just doesn't understand how life works? There's so many weird moments during his trial. It's just, like he's just very confused. I don't get it. I don't get these broads. I tried to show my wife a nice time. I took her out for drinks, and then out of the goodness of my heart, I got her some side action. She'd been tense. I roofied her a little bit to relax her, and I let a couple nice fellas I'd met at the bar have their way with her. And then when she wakes up, somehow I'm the asshole. Where did that come from? I don't even get it. I mean, if my lady got me blackout drunk and I woke up with 2 strange ladies on top of me, I would be ecstatic. Only thing better than that is a sexy-ass pair of mannequin legs and some stockings. Now, can you guys just let me go home now or what? I mean, am I going to be sent to prison for being overly thoughtful?
Timesuck Top 5 Takeaways.
The Alphabet murders sucked. So much crime, so many different crimes, so many different criminal dirtbags. How creepy was Joseph Nasso? Man, I just kept thinking, also with him, last thing I want to say about him, if he really didn't commit the Rochester area killings, and it looks like he didn't, I wonder, was he at least influenced by the Alphabet murders? Like darkly inspired in some way? You know, I mean, he didn't kill anybody that we know for sure until after. I mean, although he did have some creepy journal entries, but he could have been just darkly fantasizing those earlier entries. And I don't know, maybe it triggered something in him. I don't know. Could be coincidence too. I guess it doesn't really matter. Glad he's rotting in prison. Big thanks as always to the Timesuck team, the High Priestess of the Suck, Harmony Velicamp, Jesse Guardian of Grammar, Dobner, Reverend Dr. Joe motherfucking Paisley. Timesuck, be sure to check out Mu8ders again, by the way. Timesuck, High Priest, Alex Dugan, the guys at Bitelixir, Danger Brain, Space Lizards, Merch Wizards, Axis Apparel. So proud of all the fun, goofy stuff we have in the store now. Hoodies, windbreakers, t-shirts, challenge coins, beer glasses, tumblers, enamel pins, no, but so much stuff. Huge thank, of course, as always, to Queen of the Suck, Lindsay Cummins, for being the best wife ever. Huge thanks to, I am not taking her to a bar ever to do some weird-ass roofie shit with her. Fuck. Creepy. Thanks, as always, to Heather Knowledge, Ninja Rylander. She's been having a tough, very tough couple weeks. Hope she's doing well. Sending her some love and positive energy. Thanks for always kicking ass, Heather. And if you haven't already, get in there and give the Cult of the Curious private Facebook group a try. Over 5,000 Timesuckers in the private Cult of the Curious group on Facebook. Also, you can try Timesuck's Discord channel for even more engagement with additional cult members. Links to both in today's episode description. Next week, we're going hard in the opposite direction of murder, going into the direction of a little holiday inspiration, man. In 2014, a United Kingdom UK pub owner named Alex Lewis lost part of his face, all 4 of his limbs after contracting a devastating staph infection. He damn near died, was given a 3% chance of survival at one point, but he didn't die, and more importantly, he didn't stop living either. He now works as an interior designer. He raises funds for other amputees, learning how to walk with the help of some advanced prosthetics. He recently underwent 6 surgeries on his face to give himself a set of lips again. And his tale is just a great reminder of how much the human spirit can endure and overcome. I just find those type of tales very, very inspiring. When you're feeling low and you're feeling sorry for yourself, these are the kind of tales where you listen to them, you're like, you know what? I got to get off my ass and just make some shit happen in my life. I'm going to share this, some other inspirational tales, close out 2018. Also going to do a bit of a year-end review during the last episode as well of the year. Reflect on how far the suck has come. Thanks to you listeners. Thanks entirely to you listeners. How far it's come in 2018, and share some hopes and dreams for 2019. Update you all on how this journey looks like and what it feels like from the inside. And then to kick off 2019, probably going to go dark again. Probably going to go dark again. Probably going to go back to some intense, creepy shit. Hail Lucifina. And now it's time for Timesucker Updates.
Updates? Get your Timesucker updates.
Starting off, talking about inspirational stuff with a beautiful message from one Timesucker about another Timesucker, asking for help on behalf of this other sucker. An anonymous do-gooder, an anonymous good Samaritan, an anonymous good Samaritan, I think is how you're supposed to pronounce it. An anonymous God Samaritan. But seriously, she writes in, or he, I don't know. Shh, don't say who I am, please. But I was assigned to be someone's secret Santa and she shared some stuff with Facebook and as well as with the group. I'll send you the GoFundMe link mostly because she tells the story best there. She has cancer surgery coming up on the 10th of December. Her name is Becky Lusk. If you could just send her some good vibes from yourself and the crew, leave me out of it because it's not about me. I just thought she'd appreciate some love. Well, yes. And Becky sent an email before. I'm so sorry that got lost in the shovel by none other than by me. We do get a lot of messages. I apologize. I hope your surgery went very, very well. And yes, we're going to put your link to your GoFundMe campaign in today's episode description. I hope you're recovering well. I hope you're getting ready for good holidays, and I hope you're getting some help sent your way. So Becky, sorry I missed again that initial email. Now we have an Idahoan sucker in need. Todd Larson writes in saying, my name is Todd Larson. I'm an OG space lizard, fellow Idahoan that could use some help. My beautiful wife, 23 years, going through chemotherapy for breast cancer. She is kicking cancer's ass, but the medical bills are kicking mine. I'm not one to usually ask for help, but being part of this awesome community you have built has taught me that there are a lot of people out there that need help. And there are also a shit ton of awesome folks willing to give help at a moment's notice. One of her awesome coworkers made a GoFundMe to help with medical costs. I'm no beggar. I have a full-time job, and my wife Amanda works when the chemo isn't beating her down. But the cost of staying alive can kill you sometimes. I really appreciate all that you guys do. I fire up Timesuck on my way home from work. It really helps me from losing my shit on the crappy days. Here is the link. Thanks again for all that you do. Beat that smoothie guy's ass. He whispered to me. Yes. Also putting the GoFundMe link as well for this GoFundMe campaign in today's episode description. And with these GoFundMe, I just want to say too, any of you can also just join the private Facebook group and you can post them there to ask and share your story and see who it resonates with. We get a lot sent into the show, and it just some weeks they just get lost out of busyness. Just being totally honest, trying to gather and organize and put these episodes together in short time all the time, in a short amount of time all the time. And then sometimes there just is too many that week, but you can always send them in. We do try to put them in there, as you know, from time to time. And also you can post them wherever you want on our social media, to let people know. And now I thought this was cool, a religious fairness update from Christian author and publisher Paul Spencer. Paul writes, as a sucker, I want to bring up one thing. The primary point of frustration that I have concerning your approach to different topics is how you differ in your opinions on stereotypical religious topics versus abnormal spiritual topics. This is a great point I've never thought of. You have said that you are fascinated by and somewhat convinced by the descriptions of quote-unquote demonic forces, such as the shadow people and the possession of Annalise Michelle. Yeah, it's hard. I struggle with my rational part of my mind on that, but yeah, something about those two speak to me. But when it comes to Joan of Arc and other positive spiritual experiences, you call those who undergo the experience likely insane. That's fair. That's fair to call me out on that. I personally don't know what to make of Joan, but in my mind, it seems that her proofs of spiritual experience align with Annalise's, telling people things they could not know and whatnot. I generally don't agree with the over-spiritualization of saints, icons, and relics as practiced in the Catholic tradition, but if we're going to be open to some, shouldn't we be open to all? Even if it makes you uncomfortable to support Orthodox religious beliefs. Okay. Of course, you did suggest Annalise may have also been insane, and the update suggested that she could have been suffering from schizophrenia and or OCD. You also emphasized the fact that she grew up in a strict Catholic family, as you did with Joan, which certainly would have informed any kind of delusions the girls were having. The problem is that you approached the negative experience of Annalise with skeptical openness, whereas you approached Joan of Arc with mocking disbelief. Ultimately, you leave these things open in your treatments and in the updates, but the approach you take up front is rarely equal and fair. Between the two types of spiritual experiences, the topic of God seems to be scaring you off, but demons attract you intellectually and psychologically. Check yourself. Okay, that's fair. That is fair. Overall, you do a great job with the podcast. I've listened to them from episodes 1 to 92 so far because I love what you do. Very entertaining and informative. But I wouldn't be an active listener if I didn't take the opportunity to give my 2 cents. Just some food for thought on how you might approach future topics and the spiritual aspects of life in general. Respectfully, Paul Spencer. Man, thank you, Paul. That was a very insightful message. And this is my favorite type of thing about the messages in the community. I love being called out in an insightful, intelligent way, and you are 100% correct. Very, very unknowingly hypocritical of me to approach the angle of like demons and the dark side of spirituality with like, yeah, that might be true. But then look at the positive side and be like, fuck, come on, man. Nah, no way. I mean, part of it might be, maybe I don't articulate things enough, or maybe like, I don't know if we can define the good aspects of spiritual nature. But if I'm going to entertain the possibility of a demon, then I gotta entertain the possibility of its positive equivalent, which you could describe as an angel, and that can lead to a whole other, things in the spiritual and religious world. So you know what? I am going to do my best to keep that in mind going forward, and again, I appreciate that. Now we have another long time sucker, Elias. I never know how to say this word, Elias or Elias. I think Elias Madera, with a thank you to the suck. Saying, greetings, Sultan the Suck. My name is Eli. There you go. That's easier than when you add the AS. I can fucking rock Eli. Unless your name is like Ely. And I'm like, that's unfortunate. You should change the pronunciation. But you're right. My name is Eli, and I figured I should let you know how much Timesuck and really what all of your comedy means to me. I started listening to Crazy with a capital F on Pandora when I was a depressed 14-year-old, and it really helped to see someone with with as much pent-up anger as me express their wackadoo ideas in an entertaining way. Yeah, that's fair. It inspired me to view myself with less severity and to laugh at myself instead of getting frustrated at my problems. I'm 20 now, and I feel like I've sort of grown up with you. Seeing you grow up into what seems and what I sincerely hope is a healthier, happier person who's inspired a community of odd people who suck on that sweet, sweet knowledge and growth is astonishing. The way you treat your family and carry yourself serves as, to me, as a great example of the kind of man I want to be. Thank you so much for everything you and your sucking awesome crew are creating. Can't stop to suck. Elias or Elias, Eli Madera. Man, thank you. I am very honored that you think that, and I try. I try to be. I know I say a lot of crazy stuff, but core value stuff. I try to do my best. I do try to be a good husband and a good father. I work at it. That's all you can do. And yeah, man, the key is just to be able to. I think be able to admit you're wrong, and just really think about the choices you're making, and just try to do the choices you truly in your heart think are the best choices. Okay. Ended on a funny football stat group getting a name based on Timesuck. This is a silly little one I just thought was funny. Jacob Shepard writes, my friends and I have started doing some hardcore research into football statistics, and in honor of your influence on me, we are calling ourselves the Ball Suckers. I like it. Hail Nimrod, you ball suckers. You suck those balls. Suck them. Suck them so hard. And thank you guys so much for today's updates.
Thanks, time suckers. I needed that.
We all did.
The alphabet murders have been sucked. I hope those crimes get solved eventually. If you come across Joseph Nasso, maybe if you kick him in the head, that'd be awesome. Don't rape anybody. Just don't do it. Just please, just don't ever do it. And keep on sucking. Hey, you want me to hold you down in a ditch or something, or I could just I could get rough, do some crazy shit if you want. Oh, you don't like that? Okay, I'll just dance away. Gonna dance off back of the raping. Don't need to do that. I can find somebody else. Just dancing through life, a raping dancer.